Hey guys, tonight we're not setting sail across pirate-infested waters. No splintery ships, no sunburnt sailors, no parrots yelling things they absolutely shouldn't have learned. Nope, tonight we're drifting into something far older, far deeper, and far more mysterious. A divine promise written into history itself. The two reigns of power granted to Bani Israel, and the final sign tied to their destiny. But before we step into ancient lands, sacred texts, and moments that reshaped nations, take a second to like the video and subscribe. But only if you truly enjoy these quiet journeys into faith, history, and reflection. And leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. Somehow, it's always 2 a.m. somewhere. And honestly, 2 a.m. feels like the perfect hour to think about prophecy, power, rise and fall. When the world is quiet and the heart is listening. Now dim those lights, turn on a fan for that soft, white noise hum. Get comfortable, sink into your blankets, and maybe tuck your feet in. Not because imaginary rats are plotting anything tonight, but because this story spans centuries, and you deserve to be cozy for the journey. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered how divine promises unfold over time? Not all at once, not neatly, but slowly, through obedience and rebellion, strength and downfall, triumph and loss. Tonight, we're exploring a powerful narrative described in sacred tradition, the rise of Bani Israel to authority, their fall into corruption, their restoration to power once more, and the final sign that marks the closing chapter of this divine cycle. This isn't just a political story. It's a spiritual one, a story about responsibility, accountability, and what happens when power is treated as ownership instead of trust. We'll gently walk through ancient revelations, moments where warnings were given, mercy was extended, and consequences followed when those warnings were ignored. We'll see how kingdoms were elevated, how arrogance crept in, and how history unfolded exactly as promised. Not randomly, not accidentally, but with purpose. But don't worry, we're not rushing, debating, or overwhelming the mind. We're taking this slow, peaceful, like reading by lantern light while the world sleeps. Imagine ancient cities rising and falling under moonlit skies. Imagine prophets warning their people with calm voices and heavy hearts. Imagine generations living within a promise they didn't always fully understand, yet could never escape. Tonight, we're not here to judge. We're here to reflect, to observe how divine law moves through history, and to gently consider what these signs mean, not just for the past, but for the present, and for the future still unfolding. So settle in. Let your breathing slow. Let the noise of the day fade. Tonight, we unveil a divine pattern, the two reigns of power, and the final sign written
into destiny itself. Ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Scholar and the Layers of Meaning. In a quiet room set apart from the noise of the world, a solitary scholar sits beneath the soft glow of an oil lamp. The light pools gently across a wooden table scattered with ancient manuscripts, their pages worn smooth by centuries of careful hands. The air is still, heavy with silence, as though the room itself understands the gravity of what is being studied. Before the scholar lies sacred scripture, lines of text written with precision, intention, and depth. These are not words meant to be rushed. They are words that invite patience, words that reveal their meaning slowly, like stars emerging one by one in a darkening sky. The scholar leans forward, tracing a finger just above the script, not touching it, but following its flow. His eyes move deliberately, pausing often. He understands that not every verse speaks in the same way. Some instructions are clear and direct, commands meant to guide daily life, ethics, and worship. These legislative directives are firm, unmistakable, and accessible to all who seek guidance. But others are different. Some verses unfold like layered landscapes, filled with metaphor, symbolism, and prophecy. These are not immediately grasped. They are meant to be contemplated, compared, weighed against history,
and reflected upon with humility. The scholar knows this distinction well. To treat every verse the same is to flatten its meaning. To rush interpretation is to risk misunderstanding. He takes notes carefully, drawing connections between passages revealed centuries apart. One text speaks of rise, another speaks of corruption, another hints at consequence. Alone, each verse seems incomplete. Together, they begin to form a pattern, not obvious, not simple, but deliberate. The scholar pauses and exhales slowly. This work requires more than knowledge. It requires restraint. He understands that prophetic passages were not revealed merely to satisfy curiosity or to predict dates and events with precision. They were revealed as signs, markers meant to awaken moral awareness, to warn against arrogance, and to remind communities that power is never permanent when justice is abandoned. The lamp flickers softly as he reaches for another manuscript. This one contains commentaries from scholars long gone, voices from different eras, cultures, and circumstances. Some agree, some differ. The scholar reads them all, knowing that truth is not owned by a single generation. He is careful not to confuse metaphor with law. Clear commands are followed, metaphorical prophecies are studied, and between them lies wisdom. The scholar reflects on how easily people can fall into error when symbolic verses are treated as simple instructions, or when clear guidance is buried beneath speculation. Balance, he knows, is the key. Revelation speaks on multiple levels, and each level must be approached with the correct tools. Obedience for commands, patience for prophecies, humility for the unseen. Outside the chamber, time passes unnoticed. Shadows lengthen. The world moves forward. Inside, the scholar remains still, engaged in an act of devotion that few witness and fewer appreciate. This is not dramatic work. There is no applause, only quiet responsibility. He understands that these prophecies, including those concerning the rise and fall of nations, are not meant to glorify power, but to expose its fragility. They remind humanity that dominance without righteousness carries the seeds of its own collapse. That divine promise is inseparable from moral accountability. As the scholar sets down his pen, he does not claim certainty beyond what has been made clear. He knows where interpretation must stop and submission must begin. This restraint protects the scripture from misuse and protects the heart from arrogance. He closes the manuscript gently. In this still room, beneath fading lamplight, the scholar embodies a forgotten virtue, the courage to say, God knows best. For divine revelation was never meant to be simplified recklessly, nor mystified. Chapter 2. A Call to Hearts and Heroics. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, we embark on a journey more thrilling than a cat chasing a laser pointer, or trying to untangle a stubborn ball of yarn while half asleep. Imagine, if you will, the 10th century BCE, a time when kings donned larger crowns than their egos, and every corner of the market was filled with a cacophony of bartering that could confuse even the most astute of accountants. Seriously, can you picture that? The merchants sweating buckets while trying to figure out if they should haggle for dates or ask for a rare exchange of fine linen instead. But hang on a second. Before we take the leap through the sands of time, let me ask you this. Have you ever faced that moment in a meeting where someone brings up a topic so ludicrous that you can only respond with a nervous chuckle and a raised eyebrow? Would a heroic fictional character know just what to say or do? Or have you ever walked into a room of friends, only to realize you've shown up in a shirt 2 sizes too small, getting some serious side-eye glances? Well, what if those moments of awkwardness were tied to not just personal discomfort, but a kingdom that needs uniting? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the 10th century BCE, right in the heart of the Iron Age united monarchy. Get ready to experience the drama, the triumphs, and yes, the hilarious misunderstandings of our dear Bani Israel, children of Israel, whose journey feels like a group project where no one can find the right glue stick or even agree on the topic. Let's talk about the falta that has become the fabric of history. Picture yourself in the souks, laden with fragrances of spices that could make an emperor swoon, only to realize the poor traders have been caught in a whirlwind of decisions. You're living alongside a people grappling with their identity and their divine promises, suddenly debating whose turn it is to lead, like kids fighting over the last piece of baklava after iftar. Sweet, sticky, and somewhat contentious. Now, dear listeners, imagine hearing whispers in the air like cool river breezes, but the conversations are nothing like a soothing lullaby. They're filled with trepidation and hope. 2 reigns of power are supposedly promised to them, and the stakes couldn't be higher. You might as well say they were fervently trying to work out who could claim the title of Most Fearless Commander, while trying to figure out who broke the last jar of olive oil. Oh, the chaos. Each twist and turn feels like an epic sitcom, and who doesn't love a good comedy blended with some historical drama? But in this monumental clip of history, resilience and faith cling together like stubborn mud on your sandals post-rain. Just as you take a step, you find your human struggles reflected in the journeys of these ancient souls. "Will our pleas reach the heavens?" they murmured. "Will our destinies intertwine with divine glory?" Just as you'd consider whether you'll ever finish that intricate knitting project you started months ago. Here's the deal. The whispers among them spoke a powerful truth, a solution to their turmoil, a call to action. Yes, if Bani Israel channeled the courageous, devout spirit of their ancestors, God would reignite that fire of support. Victory would return like an old friend dropping by unexpectedly with your favorite dessert. Imagine how glorious it would be. A divine comeback so epic, it would have put blockbuster movies to shame. As the tides shifted in understanding, think of the tension in the air. It felt like trying to assemble a chair with missing screws, disastrously awkward and directionally confusing. What's a people to do when frustrations mount and clarity dims? Do they tap into their historical grit, the patience and the faith of early generations, like an influencer trying to go viral by filtering everything through rose-colored glasses? But hold on. The quirks of history paint a picture that's both tragic yet humorous. Discussion circles in those days must have been as entertaining as your favorite comedy special. Witnessing old men arguing over the best way to bake an unleavened bread. Do they need or don't they need? Yet through all this, tiny glimmers of hope break through like sunlight bursting through clouds after a thunderstorm. As a community, they could realign with divine love, with all that it means to lead courageous lives. Picture them rallying together like a sports team, throwing side-eye glances at the folks in the crowd who aren't quite rooting for them. They felt it deep in their hearts, the unwavering belief that the skies would shift and the sun would rise on their dreams once again through patience and shared devotion. And who wouldn't want the glory back? Imagine them as they gather around a campfire, each one sharing tales louder than the last, reimagining histories as if they were narrating grand epics. When their actions embrace the divine, one could almost hear echoes of angels cheering from the heavenly realms. Now that's a powerful image to drift off on, don't you think? As you contemplate this vast emotional tapestry, may your mind transition smoothly into the restful arms of slumber. Remember, every struggle carries a lesson. Every story, a thread that weaves into the great fabric of our shared divine narrative, whispering sweetly in our ears like a lullaby. Drift off into dreams where courage glows brighter than the moonlight, and humanity rises above turbulence, hand in hand, seeking solace and inspiration. Sweet dreams beckon you, dear ones, as the narrative floats effortlessly into tomorrow's quests.
Chapter 3. Whispers Beneath the Olive Tree. Salam alaikum, keen listeners. Tonight, we delve deep into a story colder than your last family gathering when the Wi-Fi cuts out. Picture this, the 10th century BCE,
A time when your biggest worry was whether you'd be upstaged by that neighbor with the shiny new chariot. And while today you might Netflix your way through a weekend, our featured cast was more about reciting prophecies and waiting for divine signs. So do me a favor, don't forget to like, subscribe, and throw in a comment or two. Only if you're fully invested in this delightful journey, of course. Now, dim those lights, put that fan on, and get yourself cozy. Let's set the stage. Have you ever found yourself wondering about life's peculiarities? Like, what would it be like to haggle for bread while your neighbor loudly proclaims their kid could swing a sword better than yours? Or how about trying to wash your clothes in that mysterious creek, only to realize you've just baptized your socks in mud? What a time to be alive. Now, imagine waking up as one of the children of Israel, or Bani Israel, in the midst of Iron Age shenanigans. Congratulations! You've just rolled out of bed in the year 1000 BCE, and believe me when I say, life's about to get interesting. You shake off the slumber, and as the morning sun peeks through your mud brick home, you stretch your arms overhead, almost reaching the hanging herbs you forgot to dry from last week's cooking session. The air is rich with earthy scents. This is not just a morning, it's a whole prophetic episode just waiting to happen. Now gather round the olive tree. It's time for our everyday musings. You see, there's quite the buzz among the villagers today. They're leaning in, ears perked like a dog hearing the ice cream truck, talking about prophecies from Surah al-Isra. Yes, the verses that hint at divinely promised victories and enduring hope. Can you imagine huddling with your neighbors while weaving your baskets, and then suddenly a guy runs in shouting, "Our time to shine is coming." You almost drop your tunic in shock. High hopes wrapped in uncertainty. It's like waiting for your bread to rise when you're not even sure if you've used the right yeast. Talk about pressure. Now, the whispers echo around as children giggle, running through the field, chasing tiny goats that dart away like they've just heard the latest gossip. You smirk, watching the toddler tumble over, smacking his head into a pile of hay. You've got to watch where you're stepping. This isn't a field day. Too funny. Focusing back on the elders, they drop some heavy words about two unique reigns promised to Israel. Powerful, commanding, almost like the ancient version of Marvel superheroes. One reign is related to the glorious rule of King David, the warrior who sang songs while slinging stones. And the other is King Solomon, the wisest king who could talk to birds. Imagine the tea sessions they must have had. But while the prophecies are grand, a cold shiver runs down your spine as murmurs of the final sign sweep through. What could it be? A blue moon? A gigantic golden calf? Or perhaps a surprise delivery of hummus? You sip mint tea, trying to keep your composure, but internally you're screaming like a kid skimming rocks into the Kinneret. Yet, among the humorous chaos sits wisdom. You look around and notice the grass under your feet, resilient and unwavering, just as the children of Israel have been. They've faced hardships, wandered in the desert, and still held on to these promises whispering down from atop Mount Sinai. It's a beautiful mess, isn't it? As you gather your thoughts, the sun sparkles off the nearby river, sounding like a gentle lullaby, while the elder prophets share tales of how trust in the divine has shaped their identity. It's sobering. There's laughter, but beneath it lies a deep-seated hope, woven together like the tapestry of life itself. And so, the rumors swirl, laughter keeps spirits high, and you find yourself wondering just how this perplexing saga will unfold. Will the signs come? What would it mean for the children of Israel? These thoughts linger like that dank scent of leftover matzah bread from last week's Passover. Funny, yet ever so poignant. Through the laughter and absurdities, one thing is clear. These stories will shape destinies, carve legends, and remind you that no matter how wacky things may get, there's always a divine script being written, perhaps even one with a bit of sarcasm. So settle in. Find a little tranquility in the sound of rustling leaves. the journey continues, a delicate dance between prophecy and reality, where mischief meets the wisdom of ages, forever intertwined in the tapestry of life. Stay with me. After all, it's not just history. It's a soothing patchwork of the human experience, laid out under the olive tree, inviting aid, laughter, and a flicker of hope. Are you ready to jump back into it after a little chuckle? Because I certainly am.
Chapter 4. The Ominous Decree. Salam alaikum, dear listeners. Tonight, we embark on a journey so intriguing you might just forget the last time you had a decent cup of coffee. Think about it. The 10th century BCE, a time when your biggest dilemma was not whether to go to the gym, but whether the neighbor's sheep was eyeing your lunch. Picture a bustling marketplace, complete with all the classic, "this is my fine wool" one-upmanship. Rivalries more intense than your uncle's fantasy football league. Now, before we jump into this adventure, I invite you to settle in, perhaps turn down the lights just a smidge, crank up the fan a notch, and, if you're feeling fancy, grab that half-eaten baklava in the fridge. You'll want to be comfy because tonight we're unraveling mysteries, prophecies, and even a dash of drama. Yes, life back then had just as much flair as your favorite soap opera. So let me ask you, ever pondered what it would be like to wake up in a world where the kings had to prove their worth with more than just good looks or fancy robes? Or how about stepping out of your mud brick house only to be greeted by a flaming debate over if David could outplay Solomon in the Best King Ever competition? Congratulations, you've just opened your eyes in 1000 BCE. That's right, the year everything begins to stir like a bowl of delicious lentil soup. The sun gently nudges its way through the cracks in your humble dwelling, and you stretch wide like a cat who's just figured out that your neighbor's milk is tastier than yours. As you yawn, the enchanting scent of blossoming olive trees wafts in. Ah, yes, the morning is already filled with the promise of adventure. As you step outside, you find the villagers gathered, their excitement palpable. It's like Black Friday at the local market, with the added bonus of divine prophecies. The air crackles with speculation as vibrant tales are exchanged, tales of victories whispered in Surah al-Isra. You might chuckle at how someone just compared the scriptural promises to an exaggerated family recipe. A sprinkle of faith here, a dash of divine command there. What's not to giggle about? In hushed tones, the elders discuss an ominous decree etched in the ancient pages of the Torah, a pronouncement that seems more weighty than that massive loaf of unleavened bread your Aunt Mabel keeps bragging about. It's not just some instruction. Nay, this is destiny unfolding, a divine roadmap, leading the children of Israel towards a future like no other. But here's where it gets as tense as a family reunion, where everyone suddenly decides to discuss politics. There are two unique reigns promised to Bani Israel. One related to King David, the lyrical warrior who fought giants with a simple sling, and the other to King Solomon, whose wisdom could probably settle most arguments in the history of humanity. Can you imagine the debates they'd have over dinner? Honestly, Solomon, who uses a crow as a messenger? Amongst laughter and profound ruminations rises a collective tension. What is that final sign coming for the children of Israel? A new dawn? A comet with a flashy name? Or perhaps even a chariot drawn by 8 unicorns? You sip mint tea, nervously reminding yourself that change is often more unsettling than the last-minute scratch on your favorite soap opera. While the strewn weeds claim their corner in the village square, the elders keep rambling about those two reigns being intertwined with the mercy of divine fate. It's like expecting a bridge to be built before the river appears, you think, raising an eyebrow in amused disbelief. But there's a beautiful weight to their words, embodying the timeless canvas that is faith in troubled times. And just as your mind drifts amidst the rippling thoughts of destiny and divinity, some rambunctious goats bound through the crowd, their owners chasing after them like they've just snatched the last fig on the market stall. With a hearty laugh, you remind your neighbor, "This isn't an Olympic event, anyone. They'd win the gold in goat dodging." Serenity settles again as you stand beneath the vibrant olive tree,
your thoughts entwined like the roots beneath it, reflecting on how these prophecies will ripple through time like a stone tossed into a pond. Life is a series of twists and turns, isn't it? Will the signs manifest as surely as the creeping shadows of the evening? As the sun begins its descent, casting enchanting hues across the horizon, you realize every shared story, every twinge of laughter, and every whispered promise of hope shapes the collective destiny of your kin, those children of Israel working towards a brighter future. It's a path carved through trials, laced with divine whispers and human laughter, all of it unfolding under that majestic, watchful olive tree. So, dear listener, as you absorb this tale, let the wisdom of yesteryears wash over you like a calming breeze. Feel the comfort it brings, reminding you that no matter how whimsical life gets, every twist, be it regal promises or humble prophecies, serves a beautiful purpose, a divine scheme echoing through the ages. Stay with me, because there's still so much more to explore in this astonishing epic. After all, the fabric of history is woven with the finest threads of hope, peering through the past into a radiant tomorrow. Now let's continue our journey, as the whispers of destiny beckon us forth. Chapter 5. The Dual Predictions of Power. Salam alaikum, dear listeners. Tonight, we continue our sojourn through a tapestry woven with threads of prophecy and destiny, a tale more twisted than your favorite plot twist. Picture this: the bustling streets of 10th century BCE, where chariots and sandals whisper gossip as much as the gossiping merchants. You might find yourself debating whether the latest Babylonian style of robe would look better on you than the olive oil you spilled on your favorite tunic. Now, as we prepare to dive into this historical epic, I gently remind you to settle in, dim those lights just a tad, grab a delightful snack, perhaps a date or two. After all, who can resist nature's candy? And let the soothing rhythm of the past guide you to dreamland. So, let me ask you, have you ever pondered what it would be like if your neighbor borrowed your gardening tools and tried to plant a kingdom instead? Would you then have to start a gardening versus monarchs club? Or have you ever thought about multiplying your mischief levels so much that you effectively turned the playful chaos of a toddler into an empire? Imagine the toddler running around, promising grandeur while tripping over their own toys. Congratulations, dear listener. You've just woken up in 1000 BCE, the cradle of intrigue, where the air is laden with the scent of olive oil and promise. Your eyes flutter open, and you may think you've just been transported straight into the middle of a divine soap opera, with every character embroiled in the drama of existence. Let's talk about breakfast. Oh wait, bad idea. The menu is pretty much flatbread with a side of, guess what the neighbor's goat has knocked over now? In this world, breakfast conversations revolve around prophecies, and you can already hear the elders passionately debating the latest revelation from the Almighty, each one more compelling than the last. Their voices rise and fall like the tides. You can almost hear one of them declaring, well, the last one was about mischief. I sort of feel like it's like warning signs on a road trip gone wrong. But dear listener, we're not just here for the giggles. Let's delve deeper. Remember that ominous decree we talked about last time? Yes, the one where it predicts not one but two cosmic reigns for Bani Israel? These two epics of existence would be like the sequel to a hit film. The first one, starring King David with his warrior charm and melodic heart, followed by King Solomon, the go-to guy for wisdom. Somebody surely needed a trophy for best decision-making in this era. As you sip your mint tea, the elders speak of King David's rule, wild and adventurous, where tunes would go hand in hand with the clashing of swords, and you can't help but chuckle picturing King David sitting around a fire, casually strumming his harp while casually overthrowing adversaries. Just keep it light and musical, shall we? You imagine him saying.
Then enters King Solomon, a gentleman whose wisdom was as renowned as Grandma's legendary chicken soup, inasmuch as everyone took a spoonful but none could possibly replicate it. Who wouldn't want to consult Solomon on matters like,
Should I lend my neighbor a goat for their family's feast, or hide it under a bed until they return my hammer? And yet, Bani Israel's story is not just about kings, or mischief for that matter. It is about the promise of two immense rains. These rains come with warnings, the kind that might make your aunt hesitate before diving into her infamous recipe for mischief soup. The elders sit together, whispering about how Bani Israel will spread mischief across the earth. Oh, if only the modern-day definition of mischief included misplaced deliveries and late-night snack raids. It's as if someone spilled the olive oil all over the palace floor, you muse, watching them with a mix of concern and amusement. But wait, you think. What's this about a final sign? Is it a comet? A divine signal of some grand event? A new nugget of wisdom disguised as an errant goat running through town? The anticipation builds. As you lean in, eager to savor every morsel of wisdom and laughter mingling in divine harmony, realization hits you. There's a larger pattern here, a cosmic dance where every twist, turn, and trial serves to heighten the divine tapestry of life. The rulers of Bani Israel are intertwined with their people, their struggles, and the promises bestowed upon them. A shared destiny rich with divine whispers flowing through every heart, much like the breeze rustling through the olive trees. Amidst the chatter, a stray goat shyly wanders into the gathering, thoroughly unimpressed by the profound discussions and clearly more interested in the leftover breadcrumbs between toes. With a small chuckle, you lean in closer, pretending to be an expert on goats, and mischievously utter, "Perhaps it's the real king of Israel now." And just like that, laughter erupts amidst solemnity, echoing in the bustling marketplace, a perfect blend of hope, humor, and reflection. You realize life's tapestry includes both trials and joy, intertwined like a pair of sandals too snug for comfort. So, dear listener, allow the warmth of this tale to blanket you like the softest of linens as you drift into slumber and embrace the whispers of destiny dancing in your dreams. Let's carry on our journey, for surely there are more wonders and tales ahead. Chapter 6. The Roots of Semitic Lineage. Salam alaikum, dear listeners. Tonight, we embark on a journey deeper than your uncle's tales of fishing, the winding roads of history that uncover our connections from the cosmic to the mundane. Picture this: the sun-drenched streets of ancient lands, where olive trees sway in the breeze and the air hums with whispers of destiny. Sounds almost like the soundtrack of a daydream, right? Before we dive in, how about giving a little love to this channel? If you enjoy this captivating historical jaunt, I kindly invite you to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. You know, only if you genuinely enjoyed it, because we're not about those forced compliments here. No pressure, just pure kindness. Now, settle in and find the coziest spot. Dim those lights as low as your expectations for a smooth start to Monday morning. Grab a snack, maybe a fig or a handful of nuts, and let's get comfy. Imagine that you're sitting beneath the shade of a fig tree with a group of friends, and one of you has just brought up the most delicious gossip rattling through Bani Israel. Have you ever found yourself tracing your family tree, but realized it's just an intricate web where no one knows who borrowed whom's lawnmower? Or maybe you've stared blankly at your pet and wondered what glorious lineage led to your loyal cat, originally a feral hunter, curling up in your lap. What if I told you our story tonight goes all the way back to the progenitor of mankind himself, our wise and righteous friend, Adam? Congratulations! You've just awakened in the 10th century BCE, right in the middle of the Iron Age united monarchy. The air is infused with the smell of clay and the rich aroma of local spices. Everywhere you look, people are engaged in a life sprinkled with ambition, from merchants boasting about their latest trades to children chasing each other with laughter that rings like sweet melodies. You almost wish you could bottle that joy like it's the latest olive oil blend. Let's take a moment to pause and flick through the pages of our ancient history. Picture Noah, a man more iconic than that rumor circulating about your neighbor's infamous lasagna recipe. Yes, that Noah. He's the one whose legacy weaves through all Semitic peoples. You see, dear friends, from Noah's lineage springs Sam, whose descendants became the forebears of Arabs and Hebrews alike. It's a family tree so intricate, even your tech-savvy relative would throw up their hands in bewilderment. Imagine this. Noah, that proverbial father figure, putting on a prophetic dad hat and telling his sons, "Now listen here, my dear Sam, your children are destined for greatness. Rulers and scholars alike will spring forth from your lineage like the finest figs from a well-tended orchard." Undoubtedly, you'd be muttering a skeptical, "Yeah, right," if you were standing there on that fateful day. Fast forward through time, and what do we have? A kingdom bustling with activity. The populace, noblemen debating trade routes, farmers trading gossip while their cows chew thoughtfully, lives in an exhilarating mix of ambition and survival. King David's heart is as fierce as his warrior spirit, strumming that harp while simultaneously rallying his troops. All in a day's work, you might suppose he quips, strumming a catchy tune about the latest conquest. And then, the entrance of Solomon, the consummate problem solver. If he were alive today, he would definitely run a successful YouTube channel dedicated to him. Here are my top 10 tips on ruling with wisdom, sprinkled with charisma. You can almost hear him laughing, leaping from one subject to another with the same grace as a gazelle. This kingdom is not merely a footnote in history. It is a vibrant canvas displaying the promise of divine rulers. Bani Israel, the children of this great heritage, will see two reigns of power. A duo, if you will, like the dynamic comedy duo of dreams, each monarch contributing to the saga of their people. The whispers surrounding the final sign are enticing. Is it a comet crossing the sky? A sudden surge of wisdom sprouting in the desert? Or maybe simply a goat wandering where it shouldn't? The elders speak of mischief. Yes, it's not all serious hall meetings. Mischief, entwined with promise, fills the atmosphere with a blend of excitement and trepidation. You can't help but chuckle, picturing the elders sitting under their date palm trees, hatching plans like middle school kids hiding their secret candy stash. Wasn't it just yesterday that someone wondered how mischief could lead a kingdom to grandeur? As the sun sets and casts a golden hue over the city, you absorb the collective desire for meaning, the wanting to understand what this divine narrative means for their lives and the destinies of their descendants. Life intertwines with divinity, reminding everyone of their roots in the tales of their ancestors. In this moment, amidst the laughter and shared wisdom, you realize that each story and prophecy dances ahead, resonating with the rhythm of human experience. A unique blend of the divine and earthy that elevates us all. Now, my dear listeners, allow this historical tapestry to gently lull you into dreams as we continue our exploration deeper into the realm of the divine. With every breath you take, embrace the warmth of connection, promise, and anticipation that awaits. Let us carry on, because surely there are more wonders and threads of tales we must uncover on this enchanting journey together. Chapter 7. The Canaanites of the Iron Age. Salam alaikum, dear listeners. Tonight, we're traveling back to the 10th century BCE, a time colder than your ex's heart after you forgot their birthday. We're stepping into the world of dusty roads and the spirited Canaanites, bustling through a region steeped in history. Imagine the ancient Levant, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, all wrapped up in a cozy quilt of cultures, where interactions happen faster than a caffeinated merchant trying to haggle that last jar of honey. Before we dive into this enchanting era, a little favor, if you will. If this journey whets your historical appetite, sprinkle us with love. Like, subscribe, and maybe comment below, only if you genuinely enjoyed it. No forced compliments here. We're all about sincere vibes, like the finest olive oil flowing from a bottleneck. Now let's find a cozy corner in our minds. Dim those lights to a relaxing glow, crank the fan just enough to feel a gentle breeze on your face, and nestle in like a cat who knows they're about to be pampered. Now let me ask, ever wondered what it would be like to live under the shadow of a giant olive tree, sipping on fresh pomegranate juice while inadvertently becoming entangled in neighborly gossip? Or perhaps you've thought about how awkward it must be to have to not just walk to the market, but avoid stepping into someone's goat's droppings while debating the merits of barley versus wheat? Congratulations! You've just woken up in the 10th century BCE, right smack in the middle of the Iron Age united monarchy. The sun is blazing down, and you can hear the faint sounds of a lyre mingling with the distant laughter of children dancing around olive trees. Talk about a scenic backdrop. The air is infused with the tantalizing aromas of freshly baked bread mingling with spices, wafting like an overly ambitious perfume attempting to capture the essence of joy and culinary delight. Now picture those tall, robust Canaanites. Dressed in tunics sewn from rough, hand-woven fabric, they traverse their world with a sense of purpose, much like how you elbow your way through a crowded grocery store for that one elusive avocado. These are not your run-of-the-mill peasants. They're fiercely proud of their heritage. After all, they claim to be descendants of Ham, the disobedient son of Noah, perhaps best known for his rather difficult family reunions. Now let's talk about their home, the land of Canaan, ripe for power struggles and divine promises. The Canaanites prided themselves on agriculture and trade, effortlessly swinging between vineyard and market. Their fair eyes darted like sparrows at midday, ever watchful for opportunities to barter grains, grapes, and the region's famed olive oil. Just imagine endless chatter about whose figs were the sweetest, much like a modern farmer's market, only far less Instagrammable. You might think their days revolved solely around farming and trading, but oh, sweet listeners, what you'll find is that their evenings were laden with tales under the twinkling stars. Gathered around communal fires, everyone would share stories about gods and goddesses with names longer than your cousin's list of excuses for missing family reunions. Well, you see, I've been on a spiritual journey, seeking guidance from Baal about my fig trees. You can almost hear the elders saying, their eyes glinting like those enchanted stars. And speaking of sacred tales, these Canaanites had a wealth of beliefs and rituals, dedicating themselves to various deities. You could say one of their favorite pastimes involved brainstorming what incense to burn to get the gods' attention. Hey, I think we should use myrrh this week. Last time, my goat's sacrifice wasn't quite fruitful. Imagine the conversation echoing across the hills like a competitive bake-off gone slightly awry. But amidst this lively tapestry of life, where trading blows with neighbors over land disputes was as common as a casual chat over the morning harvest, an undercurrent of divine prophecies flowed like water from a well. Oh, don't worry too much about your flax crops. Just wait for the promised rains of power. You can picture the whimsical elder relaying tales of divine dynasties like it was the latest gossip about the king's new sandals. All over town, eager ears straining for the next chapter in their storied history. As the sun sets, tinting the sky in hues of tangerine and deepening cerulean, a hush falls over the people. The mighty walls of Jerusalem twinkle like fireflies in the distance, and the weight of destiny begins to settle. The Canaanites, imbued with that unique mix of ambition and trepidation, peer into the horizon, as if trying to glimpse the grand future awaiting them. So, here we are, amidst the laughter, life, and whispers of promise. Each story, a breadcrumb leading us closer to understanding their place in the unfolding narrative of Bani Israel, and the divine signs lurking ever so gently on the edge of their worldly lives. Let the images of figures struggling for their place in the annals of history lull you gently into dreams, rich with ancient whispers and the heartbeat of destiny. As we delve deeper into this historical narrative, remember that we are not mere spectators. We are the Canaanites' ancestors, carrying their stories and their laughter through time, intertwining our fates with theirs, shared through the winds that once carried their voices into the night sky. Let's travel on, for this is just the beginning, and there are still mysteries waiting to be unveiled in the shadows of history.
Chapter 8. The Celestial Debate in Ur. Salam alaikum, dear listeners. Tonight, we dial the historical time travel machine back to the ancient city of Ur, where the sun was a bit more than a big ball of fire, and the people often squabbled over which celestial body deserved their worship. Imagine yourself mid-debate, perhaps a little less heated than a modern family dinner after bringing up politics. You're surrounded by folks proclaiming their unconditional love for their celestial favorites, the sun, moon, and stars, much like those passionate sports fans you know who argue endlessly about why their team is superior. Hold on tight, because what we're about to witness will be more dramatic than a soap opera. After all, it's not every day you find a prophet taking on an entire civilization's misguided beliefs, is it? Picture this: the flavor of garnet pomegranates, the warm touch of sun-heated bricks beneath your feet, and the chanting of priests echoing through over-the-top ziggurats juxtaposed against the stark reality of spiritual confusion. Before we meander through the dusty marketplaces of Ur, filled with characters more colorful than a bag of spiced gummy bears, a humble request. If you enjoy this journey into the past, like the honeyed figs you can't resist, like, subscribe, and comment just to share your thoughts. But only if you genuinely find it sweet. No forced praise here, my friends. Let's cozy up into our mental time machines. Dim those lights, let that fan blow gently like a summer's breeze, and get comfortable, like a wise elder perched under the shade of a palm tree, ready to engage in the culture of storytelling. You may be wondering about their daily dilemmas. Did they argue over whose turn it was to worship the sun, and how soon clouds came to ruin the solar party? Or perhaps, how awkward must it be to have a conversation with your neighbor when your entire belief system revolves around celestial bodies that sporadically disappear or get eclipsed? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 10th century BCE Ur, a bustling metropolis where celestial worship reigns supreme. The air is thick with the aroma of incense, mingling with the chatter of the townsfolk arguing over the existence and importance of their favored orbs in the night sky. Can you feel the passionate intensity? Imagine the people standing around, eyes gleaming with devotion, fervently proclaiming, "I swear that if I saw the sun one more time, I'd bake bread in its name." Let us dive into this lively setting. As you walk through the alleys of Ur, you hear the generated chaos, the shouts of merchants hawking everything from splendid fabrics to woolen textiles, much like a modern-day flea market jammed with enthusiastic buyers. You can almost taste the bread baked at dawn, its aroma wrapping around you like a warm scarf on a winter's day. Now picture the scene: crowds gathered outside a grand temple adorned with spectacular frescoes, where debates rage hotter than molten bronze on a July day. In the midst stands the prophet Abraham. Impressive, isn't he? With a voice more resonant than the clang of bells and a charisma that makes the sun look dim by comparison, he's gearing up to question the very foundation of celestial worship. The crowd's excitement crackles in the air like static electricity. You can almost hear their collective mental cogs turning. "Tell me," Abraham asks, gesturing dramatically as if performing at a theater, "if the sun is divine, why does it set? And when the moon hides behind clouds, should we all sulk and panic? Are there inspectors making sure the stars show up nightly like punctual postmen?" The townsfolk chuckle, mixed with confusion. This is not the dialogue they expected. In that moment, gravel crunches beneath sandals as debates spring forth like weeds in a garden neglected. And with a determination equal to a child trying to convince their parents that a pet rock genuinely has feelings, Abraham boldly challenges the crowd's beliefs. He tightly grips a handful of twinkling stardust, or at least a symbolic equivalent, and continues, "Indeed, if the stars do not shine, do we forsake them too? What then of our hope?
The locals murmur among themselves, the sparks of curiosity igniting enthusiasm. His sharp wit dances on the air, tickling them just so. "Let me elucidate," he continues, packing his debate with humor. "I've always felt closely aligned with the moon. In truth, who among us hasn't felt eclipsed by a misfortune? Look at the success of my sheep, ever following the stars, yet somehow they can't tell twilight from midnight. It's almost as if they're waiting for me to organize celestial appointments." Gales of laughter bubble through the crowd, laughter that serves as gentle encouragement to rethink their celestial affections. As the sun dips low, the shadows cast on the ancient streets stretch long and inviting, mirroring the weight of the decision yet to be made. You can see the flicker of doubt in their eyes, shadows lifting the mist of certainty they once held so firmly. As night descends, Abraham's thoughts on divine power seep into the minds of the onlookers like comforting tea. No longer are they purely worshiping distant stars. He piques their interest to think deeper, imagine diversely, and pursue theology that doesn't blindly chase temporary wonders. You see the gradual shimmer of wisdom taking root, like seeds carefully placed in fertile soil. And so, here we are in ancient Ur, surrounded by fallen stars and celestial wonders. The conversation morphs into a low hum about the sacredness of the universe. Who knew that a debate could turn into a revelation with echoes far beyond the horizon? Let this vivid scene take you gently into slumber, the undercurrents of wisdom waiting to cradle you in soft, silken dreams. May your mind wander through those ancient markets,
Celestial dialogues, coaxing you to ponder not just upon old beliefs, but also the new wonders that await beneath the stars. So, as the shadows deepen and the stars twinkle brighter, remain enveloped in the whispers of knowledge, a story not merely about worship, but one of growth, understanding, and a little bit of laughter woven through the scrolls of history. Time may pause here, unfolding its mysteries as you drift away, cradled by the echoes of Abraham's insights. Sleep well, sweet dreamers. Chapter 9. The journey begins. Abraham's leap of faith. Salam alaikum, my delightful dreamers. Tonight, we voyage back in time to a period that was neither too glamorous nor too gritty. Think of it as the Facebook of historical eras. It's a little awkward, but still manages to capture hearts. We're in the enchanting landscape of Ur, around the 10th century BCE, a place where migration plans were about as common as your neighbor's cat getting lost in the garden. Quite the conundrum, right? Picture this. You're about to embark on a journey more monumental than that last family road trip you didn't quite plan out, back when everyone packed just enough snacks to make a small country jealous. But tonight's tale is not about car rides. It's about camels, tents, and prophetic dreams with a side of celestial navigation. Now, let's pop some popcorn and dive into the puzzling world of ancient cross-country travels. By the way, if you find this adventure even a tad enjoyable, kind of like discovering that vintage sweater in your closet that you've completely forgotten about, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. But please, only if you genuinely enjoyed it. We're not running a taco stand here, serving forced praise with a side of guilt. Now, I invite you to dim those lights, crank up that fan just a bit, because ancient tents lacked air conditioning, and settle in, like the wise, sleep-deprived sage you've probably turned into by now. Did the people of Abraham's time also have existential crises before embarking on epic migrations? Did anyone ever argue about which direction to start walking in? Nah, I'm sure it's east. Or was it west? Well, we can just take a selfie and consult Google Maps. Congratulations! You've just opened your eyes to a lush scene in 10th century BCE Ur, a vibrant city bustling with life. The air is fragrant with the scent of freshly baked bread, aromatic spices, and something distinctly goat-like. Ah yes, the invisible goat.
Somewhere, throngs of townsfolk haggle fiercely over silk and clay pots, not unlike the Americans fighting for the last spot in the parking lot at a mall on Black Friday. In this vibrant setting, you suddenly spot our friend, the venerable Abraham, or Ibrahim as wielded by history's scholars. He stands at the age of 75, which in those days was boldly ancient. Imagine the man adorned in robes more flowing than your grandmother's prized tablecloths, ready to embark on a migration that would make lesser men quiver in their sandals. "Listen up," he calls out, a bit like your charismatic neighbor announcing a block party with way too much enthusiasm. The crowd hushes, still buzzing with pre-migration jitters. "I may be old," he begins, "but trust me, folks, I hear divine orders louder than my neighbor's goat. And believe me, that's saying something." His wife, Sarah, rolls her eyes, chuckling under her breath. "Ah, yes, because it's certainly wise to leave everything behind and venture toward the unknown, my dear husband." You can almost hear her inner dialogue. "Great, just what I wanted. A cross-country trip with my 75-year-old spouse. And did I mention there are no Starbucks along the route?" But Abraham shines with an enthusiasm that merely screams adventure. He envisions the land flowing with milk and honey, like an eternal buffet after all those get-togethers that never quite lived up to expectations. What else could possibly go wrong, aside from the potential lack of Wi-Fi and an unexplainable abundance of camels, perhaps? And thus sets the scene for this monumental migration. Abraham gathers time-worn leather bags full of dried dates and various adventurous sheep, ready to lead his small but spirited entourage, which includes his beloved wife and nephew, Lot. "All right, team, we pack light and live heavy. Canaan awaits," he bellows, like a motivational speaker trying to sell you on an all-natural, gluten-free lifestyle. As they set off, the sun casts its golden rays upon the party, illuminating their path with a gentle warmth, igniting their spirits alongside a peaceful melody wafting through the desert breeze, like a distant choir of celestial beings assembling for a harmonized tune. Picture it, their footsteps whispering against the earth, the gentle swaying of their travel packs, a blend of anticipation and uncertainty dancing upon the horizon like a well-executed TikTok dance gone viral. Though the journey is fraught with thrills and hurdles, every dappled sunset marks their progress, building resilience more akin to that of your gym membership after New Year's, but far more worthwhile. Together, they pass through landscapes more diverse than a modern TikTok feed, arid deserts, lush valleys, and rocky mountains that would make any geologist swoon. You can almost hear their banter echoing off the hills. "You call this a fruit platter? I was expecting a feast fit for a king." Abraham occasionally garners support with humor. "Look at us, moving like nomadic superheroes. A caravan of legends. Imagine sending postcards." As the stars dot the night sky like little twinkling gems, they gather around the fire for their nightly tales, each story wrapped in laughter and dreams. Despite the exhaustion, they cherish their connection. For there's more than just a migration at stake. The inception of a legacy awaiting to unfold. A lineage that will shape histories and forge destinies. Their aspirations shimmer brighter than the stars above. And as you drift deeper into Abraham's journey, his hopes intertwined with divine promises, let this gentle narrative lull you into the soothing embrace of your dreams. With every fictional footprint, imagine stepping into your own dreams. Even tiny misadventures can hold the promise of greatness. So rest easy tonight, my dear listeners, knowing that like our friend Abraham, every step forward, whether grand or small, leads to infinite possibilities. Sleep well, and may your dreams take flight on the wings of destiny. Chapter 10. Abraham and Melchizedek. The taxman cometh. Salam alaikum, my tranquil tinkerers of dreams. Tonight, we slide further down the timeline like a slick pair of socks on a polished floor. We're about to dive into the exhilarating life of Abraham as he steps into the historic land of Canaan. And let's be real, when you think of taxes, your heart might sink faster than a stone in a well. But hold on, you're about to meet one tax man who's got a kingly twist. Believe me, it's not your usual tax season dread. Picture this. It's the 10th century BCE, and you wake up to the melodious sound of nothing. I mean, pure, unfiltered nature. You've just opened your eyes in Canaan, a land so lush and promising that even the crops look like they might sprout with a personal little fan and some late-night motivational speeches. Ever wonder if the ancient taxman had a sense of humor? Did he ever show up on the doorstep of unsuspecting peasants while juggling figs? Now, close your eyes and imagine the hustle and bustle of this newly forming civilization. As you stroll through the marketplace, where haggling is practically an Olympic sport, you might just bump into our friend, Abraham, or Ibrahim, as the clay tablet historians like to call him. He's adorned in robes that flow like the finest silk. Imagine if your grandma quilted a robe and then accidentally dipped it in a river of gold paint. Abraham, at this point, is probably wondering how he wound up being the star of what could only be described as the most significant, unpredictable adventure of all time, and without a GPS. So there he stands, staring far into the horizon, thoughts swirling like a blender set to whirl, debating if he should ask if he left the oven on back in Ur. But hey, duty calls. Cue the royal trumpet, because here comes Melchizedek, a king more righteous than a Sunday school teacher on a sugar high. And boy, does he have stories. He approaches Abraham, all dignity and nobility, and just like that, he's here to collect taxes. Not in a suit, mind you, but adorned in regal attire that practically shimmers in the sunlight. Talk about stepping up your game. As Melchizedek extends his hand, Abraham is struck not just by the enormity of the man before him, but by the demonstration of a proper system of governance, one that respects both the ruler and the ruled. Just like that moment when you find yourself at a restaurant that actually takes reservations. Oh, the convenience. So, you're the tax king, eh? Abraham quips, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Imagine the conversation going back and forth, like an ancient version of Twitter. Indeed I am, replies Melchizedek, with the sort of confidence that could sell sand to the Bedouins. It's all about establishing prosperity. You see, taxes are not just about taking. They are investments in the community. Much like that time I invested in a goat farm. Now I'm practically
delivering goat milk lattes. What's fascinating here is the type of exchange Abraham and Melchizedek are having. They are not just bartering goods or negotiating wild offers. They are establishing a profound connection, an understanding of mutual respect that transcends mere transactions, a quality often overlooked amidst the cacophony of busy market chatter. It's as if they're crafting a blueprint for future civilizations, proving that even in matters of tax, a little bit of grace goes a long way. Imagine this historical taxation scene. Melchizedek's bold integrity and warm demeanor warm the hearts of citizens faster than freshly baked pita bread. Like a wise uncle sharing tales at family gatherings, he draws them in, spreading goodwill like hazelnut spread on warm bread. And there stands Abraham, wondering if anyone ever wrote a song about dealing with taxes and kings. Oh, to be a tax collector in Canaan, he muses inwardly. One day I'll drop a ballad about it. You know, the taxman's waltz. The air is filled with the scent of grilled lamb, mixed spices, and promises of prosperity, wrapping around you like a warm blanket. You start to wonder, just when did taxes become so serious? Why can't they come with a crown and a friendly laugh? Ah, taxes, the necessary evil, like a fruitcake at an office party, you chuckle softly. As the sun sets on this dramatic day, illuminating the landscape in hues of gold and amber, Abraham can't help but feel grateful for the unexpected alliances forming across the lands. His heart resonates with joy, knowing that such moments of simple conversation, connection, and perhaps a sprinkle of comedy
have the power to shape nations. So as you drift deeper into your dreams, think of how relationships can morph an ordinary aspect of life, like taxes, into extraordinary tales of camaraderie and wisdom. Remember, my dear traveler, every day brings something new, whether found in a humble marketplace or upon the lips of a righteous king. Let these scenes dance through your mind, and may your dreams be filled with the warmth of ancient connections and a chuckle or two. Sleep well, knowing that even in the ebb and flow of history, there are always curiously quirky moments to lift the spirit. Chapter 11. The Blessing of Sons, a Tale of Two Brothers. Salam alaikum, weary wanderers of the night. Tonight we embark on an exhilarating journey more thrilling than a surprise knish at a Shabbat dinner. We're leaping into the dazzling 10th century BCE, where the stars twinkle like 1,000 winks in the firmament above. Yes, it's a time when sandals were the hot trend, and the most exciting smartphone app was likely a wooden stick used for counting sheep, or, better yet, both sheep and neighbors. Now, have you ever found yourself daydreaming about what life would be like if you were the proud parent of not one, but two sons? Would you have an extra pair of hands for your chores? Or would it be a constant battle over who gets the prime piece of pita bread at dinner? Imagine coming home after a long day, only to find that one of them has commandeered your favorite chair. "This was meant for my royal behind," you might exclaim. But let's forget about those present-day sibling squabbles for a moment, because you've just woken up in a quaint tent somewhere in Canaan, cozy with a view to steal your breath away, and dreams to rival those fanciful social media influencers. Take a deep breath. Can you smell the fresh campfire and that tinge of roasted lamb? Ah, that's your son, Isaac, attempting to turn the skin of that lamb into a fine pair of leather sandals, all in the name of recycling, of course. But alas, we're not here to discuss fashion faux pas. Let me introduce you to the other half of your sibling saga, Ishmael, your firstborn son, who has decided to explore the sandy expanse of the Arabian Peninsula. You know how it is, wanderlust and all that. It's as if he's peered through ancient Instagram stories and decided that the lush lands of Canaan couldn't possibly compare to a good oasis. Speaking of choices, ever wonder how your family discussions might have turned out if you had a chance to chat about which sibling gets to inherit those exquisite sheepskin business cards? In a world where inheritance is more significant than who gets the last falafel, you can imagine the tensions rising as heated debates over dusty campfires become more than just casual banter. Isaac is the favorite, isn't he? You might think. Like a concerned parent watching their eldest steal the spotlight at a family reunion. But we digress. Let us sway gently into the saga of Abraham, the dad who's probably wrestling with more familial drama than a soap opera star, and Sarah, ever graceful and sensible, trying to keep things diplomatic. Can you hear her softly reminding everyone around to keep their voices down, as if the neighbors' camels might overhear? Oh, if only you all could sit together like a nice family, instead of chasing each other around with sticks. Turning our attention back to Isaac and Ishmael, two sons, two destinies, each destined to become the foundation of mighty nations. Just picture a moment where they sit together debating which one of them could build a better tent. Or perhaps, who could throw a better spear. "Come on, little brother, let's see what you've got," may have been the battle cry echoing through the sands. A sibling rivalry so strong, perhaps, it should have come with its own theme music. But what of the divine promise entwined within their fates? You see, in this fascinating tapestry of history, both boys carry the mark of prophecy and potential. Ishmael, as the forefather of many tribes, while Isaac prepares to stand at the helm of the illustrious nation of Israel. Yes, folks, the stakes are high. Every bedtime story you share might soon echo with tales of these illustrious destinies. For now, let us rest our spinning minds for a moment. The sun begins to set, casting shadows that dance playfully around your campfire. Picture the scene growing quieter, only the soft rustle of grass and occasional bleat of confused sheep filling the air. In this serene moment, allow the warmth of your divine saga to cradle you, each beat of your heart synchronized with the ancient stories woven through time. As you close your eyes, allow those minor squabbles over chairs, pita bread, and camels to drift away. Tonight, cradled in the arms of history, let the stories of Ishmael and Isaac guide your dreams, urging you to explore vast deserts and lush valleys. May the night whisper to you secrets of the past, where every moment is imbued with profound meaning, and laughter is the universal language that echoes across time. And therein lies the magic of faith, of stories that blend laughter with tears, longing with belonging, ushering you silently into sweet slumber. Let the power of two brothers bring you solace, for every sibling can be a rival, a friend, and a sign that destiny has chosen. Sleep deeply, dear traveler, knowing that in the intricate dance of life, every twist and turn leads us closer to understanding our own roles within this grand tapestry of existence. Tapestry, Chapter 12, The Covenant of Nations, the Rise of Jacob, Israel's Patriarch. Salam alaikum, delightful dreamers of history. Tonight, we dive into a time even more exhilarating than discovering that your favorite coffee shop just brought back your seasonal latte. We find ourselves in a dazzling swirl of events during the 10th century BCE, a time when the Iron Age was in full swing. Yes, the age where swords were sharper than your Aunt Miriam's tongue at family dinner. Settle in, friends. Picture yourself gently waking up in a cozy encampment nestled among the rolling hills of Canaan, your tent fluttering softly in the breeze. The comforting scent of roasted lamb wafts through the air, mingling with hints of wild thyme. Ah, can you smell it? It's like Mother Nature's way of telling you she has a surprise feast waiting. Now, let me ask you, have you ever woken up and thought to yourself, what a lovely morning to mold the future of nations? Or perhaps, I hope today's family meeting doesn't end with an accidental goat blessing. Trust me, family dynamics back then were nothing short of epic. Imagine cozying up for breakfast, only to be served a hefty dose of sibling rivalry over who gets to have the most shiny robes. As you sip your warm goat's milk, perhaps you ponder if it's time to start your daily market charade, or if your brothers are just going to take the shiny trinkets and let you handle the sheep again. You chuckle to yourself, recalling the legendary stories of Isaac, your father. You know, the one with the comedic relief that you're convinced was hand-picked for a stand-up role in some heavenly comedy show. Ah, but enough about today's petty morning chores. Allow me to introduce you to Jacob, because it's within this incredible character that our narrative sparks like a hastily lit firework on a summer night. Yes, Jacob, the son who would soon earn the holy name of Israel, a title carrying monumental significance, and let's be clear, he didn't even have to go through HR to get it. While breakfast is lazily unfolding, anointing every corner of your tent with that delightful scent, your father Isaac is marshaling some deeply seated prophecies. Think of Isaac as being part father figure and part elder statesman, trying to convince everyone that the fate of nations hangs on an extra helping of matzah at the dinner table. More delicious than you could have imagined. Now, let's focus on Jacob, your brother, the man destined to forge 12 tribes from his sons, which is like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without instructions. So many parts, and all you have is a single Allen key and a whole lot of hope. As Jacob grows, he embodies a mixture of tenacity and charm, trying to juggle the unpredictability of sheer familial chaos. Ever had that moment where your own sibling seemed like an overachieving karate master, while you can't even seem to unfold your blanket properly? Well, Jacob exudes that kind of energy. Word has it that he might be involved in some dealings with his sketchy uncle, and as you sit there fighting invisibly over that last piece of roasted lamb, you can only imagine how that will unfold. Probably with a lot more twists and turns than a 3-hour drama. In the backdrop of your delightful feasting, divine destinies are being stitched together like an elaborate tapestry of goblets, goat steaks, and quite a few disputes regarding who gets to claim the last flaky pastry. To put it mildly, Jacob's life isn't just about sibling rivalry. Oh no. It involves angelic visits, prophecies, and a family tree that has more branches than your grandmother's explanation for how she knows everyone at the market. Now picture Jacob, fresh from a fracas with his brother Esau, on a rather dramatic escape, until finally he finds himself alone one fateful night, battling with himself under a sky littered with stars like scattered blessings. In this moment, something remarkable occurs. A wrestling match with an angel so profound that it becomes the stuff of legends. Here he is, grappling with celestial beings, while you're still debating whether you should report your siblings' breakfast thievery to your adequate dad. With every twist and turn, Jacob, aka Israel, emerges not just as a brother, but as a covenant-wrapped embodiment of aspirations, struggles, and divine promises. He steps confidently into history, paving pathways that will lead into the hearts of future generations. Could you imagine telling future generations at storytelling night? Listen, folks, let me tell you about my brother Jacob, the man who literally wrestled with angels while I could barely wrestle the last piece of matzah. As you bask in the warmth of this fleeting moment of revelry, hold on to the history interlacing your dreams. While the moon rises and stars blossom in the enveloping Canaan night, notice how the laughter dances through the gentle, sun-heated air, urging you deeper into slumber. Each heartbeat echoing the ancient tales of a world woven with miracles. So, may this night cradle you in the abundant lore of Jacob and his transformative journey next to a rugged family backdrop, framed by promises and dreams yet to unfold. As you drift off, allow the whisper of history to embrace you, knowing that life's challenges, big or small, are but stepping stones on a divine path, leading towards a brighter, united tomorrow. With gentle serenity, rest and let your dreams wander among the stars, carrying the weight of history lightly upon your heart. Sleep tight, dear traveler, because tomorrow is another day for wrestling not just with potentials, but with the delightful, divine promise of existence. Chapter 13. Joseph's Dreams and Egyptian Schemes. The Rise of a Hebrew Prince. Salam alaikum, enchanting wanderers of the night. Tonight, our story approaches with the finesse of a cat balancing on a picket fence, graceful, intriguing, and slightly unsteady. We find ourselves in the 10th century BCE, a splendid time when the Iron Age was making its mark, and Egypt was dazzling much like that one cousin at every family reunion who can balance a spoon on their nose and recite poetry. So, gather your pillows, fluff your bed sheets, and let's dunk our toes into the Nile. Now, have you ever found yourself pondering profound questions like, what would it be like to inherit a royal throne that doesn't even come with a manual? Or, would my sibling rivalry become a reality show if I magically became a prince? Let's not forget asking yourself, why are there so many goats in these family stories? Oh, the mysteries of life. Well, guess what? You've just woken up in 10th century Egypt, the time when your nightmares about sibling squabbles might just end up with you as a royal cupbearer. As you stretch and yawn, the golden rays of dawn slip into your room, revealing a lively Egyptian marketplace bustling away like a caffeinated squirrel. Merchants hawk their wares with voices as loud as frogs at a nighttime concert, a cacophony of life. Let's talk about our dear Joseph, the son of Jacob. Picture him for a moment, dapper in his luxurious tunic, hair perfectly styled to resemble a shape that could only be described as divinely windswept. Joseph, with his shining eyes and glamorous coat, walked the halls of Pharaoh's palace like he owned the place. Spoiler alert, he didn't, but he was certainly working toward that. You see, one fateful day, Joseph, who was no stranger to dreams, let me tell you, found himself on a trajectory steeper than a roller coaster, designed by an overly ambitious architect. Ever had one of those dreams where you're sublimely famous, Eating ice cream under the Eiffel Tower? Well, Joseph's dreams were a bit more complex. Imagine touring an amusement park that just wouldn't end, and you've got the right vibe. In his dreams, he saw sheaves of grain bowing down to his. Yes, that's the kind of fame we're talking about. It's like being the only artisanal goat cheese seller in a room full of plain cheddar. His family didn't quite appreciate the artistry of his dreams. Instead, they regarded them as family drama that screamed for a reality TV treatment. Speaking of family, let's not forget about his brothers, each one a blend of jealousy, envy, and perhaps a dash of overzealous sibling rivalry. As Joseph strutted around in that oh-so-fancy coat, you could almost feel the tension simmering like a lowbrow sitcom. They didn't take kindly to Joseph's "look at me, I'm destined for greatness" vibes. One day, they decided to play a little "what would Joseph do" game. Only, instead of good deeds, they tossed him into a well. It wasn't exactly a five-star resort. Ever gone to a cousin's house only to find yourself locked in the pantry with a wedding cake? Talk about a culinary adventure. Well, Joseph certainly had a taste for excitement too, but his was in a less than ideal way. Imagine his surprise when he was pulled from that well, like discovering that last slice of pizza is still in the fridge. Next thing you know, he's in Egypt, dazed and confused, greeted by the whiffs of remarkable spices that smelled like 7-star Michelin meals. Here's a thought. What if he used his cooking skills? Alas, his knack lay in interpreting dreams, not culinary creations. Now, let's glide into the grand royal court. There's Pharaoh, wearing a crown not as big as your mom's Sunday hat, but oh so prominent. Joseph is summoned to interpret yet another seriously peculiar dream. A pharaoh's, no less. Picture it. 7 fat cows sashaying gracefully next to 7 skinny cows. Who knew agriculture could be so glamorous? Pharaoh, Joseph said confidently, probably with a flair that implied he was ready to take the stage at a talent show. The 7 fat cows are years of plenty. And the 7 scrawny cows? He pauses for dramatic effect. Every good storyteller knows timing is key. Those are the years of famine. Cue shocked gasps from the court, since his advice was about as refreshing as a falafel on a sweltering day, and just as fulfilling. Upon summarizing events, Pharaoh decided Joseph was the man for the job, his right-hand man, the steward of Egypt. Imagine being entrusted with grain storage, logistics, and maybe even organizing that big family reunion everyone's been dodging. What a whirlwind. Now you must be asking yourself, what would have the family dynamics looked like? Picture this. Joseph, decked out in robes that would put a royal peacock to shame, dining with Pharaoh, while his brothers, who once tossed him into a well, unwittingly wandered into the very palace that held their long-lost brother. Talk about a family reunion that could have used some serious mediation training. Joseph's rise to prominence was not just about his dream interpretations. It was about the bonds of forgiveness and family resilience. The brothers, recognizing the unfolding drama, came into play with tension thicker than Egyptian papyrus and misunderstandings more layered than a classic baklava. Oh, the irony. As Joseph walked towards his brothers, you could expect a scene reminiscent of those heartwarming movie moments. Maybe this time, no one would be advocating an accident with the rural goats. Each moment shimmered with promise and past grievances. Could love outshine betrayal? Time would tell. So, as we drift slowly into the soothing embrace of sleep, let's meander through the dreams of forgiveness, resilience, and the incredible journey of Joseph, a man whose life was far more glittering
than any coat could ever suggest. Allow the whispers of history to settle softly around you, blending sweetly with your own dreams. May you find solace and courage in your own narratives, just as Joseph did. Sleep deeply, dear traveler, for tomorrow will bring new revelations, much like a certain Hebrew prince in Egypt. Chapter 14. Whips, Chains, and the Weight of Oppression. Salam alaikum, delightful dreamers. Tonight, snuggle in deeper as we embark on a journey more laborious than trying to assemble IKEA furniture with a blindfold on. We've morphed through time and destiny, landing smack dab in the midst of a gripping saga. The 10th century BCE, a time when the clouds of anguish loomed over Bani Israel, like your aunt's fruitcake at family gatherings, pervasive and hard to forget. So, here's the deal. Think of ancient Egypt, where the sun ruled the skies with the fervor of a toddler who just discovered glitter. It's a sweltering day, and you can practically smell the delicious spices wafting through the air. Except, whoops, that aroma is being snuffed out by the overwhelming scent of despair, chains, and the inevitable crack of a whip. Let's take a moment, shall we? Imagine waking up one morning to find yourself in a bustling Egyptian city, sandy streets filled not just with merchants and peasants, but with your ancestors, the Israelites, bearing the weight of oppression, smithereens thick enough to cut through a 4-day-old loaf of pita. Tough times, I tell you. Picture this. You are a humble Israelite, waking up each day wishing your dreams were filled with wealth and power. Yet instead, you arise to a life that makes the most boring Zoom meeting feel like an action movie. A week of labor feels more routine than trying to recall whether you left the stove on at home. The pharaohs, oh, those lovely guys. Believe it or not, they've got the revenge of the underdog sorted out. You're now enslaved, shackled by a regime that has you working like a caffeine-fueled squirrel trying to stash away the world's supply of acorns. And speaking of squirrels, ever realized that they somehow evade all forms of human attempts to capture them? Because, newsflash, you, dear listener, are now stuck in a version of Egypt that even Indiana Jones would hesitate to raid. So, let's chat about the real number crunch in those chains. 430 years of sweat, toil, and the echoes of despair rising and falling like your favorite playlist on shuffle. The Israelites are under the thumbs of pharaohs whose leadership styles can only be compared to that cranky neighbor who still insists on mowing their lawn at the crack of dawn. From sunup to sundown, your days are spent mixing bricks, hauling stones, and trying to avoid any personal conflict with the local taskmaster. You know that boss at work who takes 5-hour meetings on how to efficiently store paper clips? Imagine that, but multiplied by unbearable conditions, heavy workloads, and the ever-familiar fear of being whipped into submission. Not quite the employee of the month vibe, eh? And the food? Don't get me started. The leftovers from last night's banquet are served with the freshness of a post-apocalyptic TV show. You'll find yourself thinking, was that actually bread, or did someone just throw some sand into the mix? Ever tried eating something that sounded great in theory, but turned into a mouthful of regret? Welcome to the joys of slave rations. Meanwhile, the pharaoh preens and performs in his luxurious court, oblivious to your struggles while feasting on food that's obviously not made from recycled cardboard. Each time you are called to build one of his chic statues or lavish apartments, you wish you could have just gotten a simple crafter's job, turning out more pottery than you could ever dream. But my dear listeners, beware. Beneath this cloud of oppression, there's a pulse of hope beating, like that stubborn little flower peeking through a cracked sidewalk. Prophecies of liberation shimmer in the air, promising that your pain will not go unnoticed. A figure will rise, someone with the kind of charisma that could make even the harshest of taskmasters turn a blind eye. Allow yourself to slip into a dream where a leader will come, guiding you all from the depths of despair back to a land of milk and honey. Maybe not the kind from the supermarket, more like nectar straight from a fairy tale. Can you feel the whispers of hope? They're as soft as a nightingale's song amidst the chaos. But right now, it's a waiting game, one that tests the mettle of family and community bonds under the scorching sun. Gather around, dear traveler. Laughter and stories amidst harsh labor bind the people closer, creating an oasis of unity in the vast desert of oppression. It's like that one family member who can make you chuckle even in the most mundane of situations. So as you drift further into the night, let those tales drown out the sounds of chains and whips, because amidst this sorrow,
lies an undercurrent of resilience. Allow these stories to cradle you into a deep slumber. You are not mere shadows. You are the promise of a brighter day. May your dreams dance with the hopes of a liberation that is just around the corner. Sleep well, brave soul, for the winds of change are brewing, and someday soon, you will be among those who will gallantly rise. Now, off into sweet dreams, where the only chains are those of luxurious, albeit slightly passionate, pillow forts.
Chapter 15. Wandering Through the Sands of Time. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, prepare for a journey more arduous than trying to get your cat to take a bath. We're slipping into a time machine and landing right where the desert sand is more notorious than that neighbor who borrows sugar and then doesn't return it. A level of annoyance only rivaled by a pharaoh who uses just 5 more minutes as an excuse to keep you working. Welcome to the 10th century BCE. Picture that, a time when people were more concerned with survival than Wi-Fi speed. And a good meal consisted of something that wasn't served in your favorite restaurant, but rather foraged from the dusty grains of the desert. One moment you're enjoying a delicious meal, or maybe just dreaming about one, and the next, an entire nation is hit with a sandwich crisis. Only this one involves bread of a different kind, the crushing misery of slavery. As we drift deeper into the narrative, can you imagine waking up one day, stepping out of your tent, and realizing, oops, you're one of the Israelites caught up in this grand saga? You look around, and what do you see? Sand. More sand than a toddler's sandbox, and yet somehow it feels utterly barren. You clutch your stomach, wishing for figs, but facing only a harsh, empty landscape. Maybe there's a riddle hidden beneath that sand? Like, what's more desolate than the taste of last week's stale bread? Let's talk about clothing. Instead of swanky desert attire from the latest catalog, here you are in the hottest desert fashion, figuratively. And I mean fashion from your great-grandfather's closet. Flimsy linen draped everywhere. And your sandals? They squeak louder than a mouse with a megaphone. Every step in the sand feels like a workout you didn't sign up for. But wait. Let's rewind to just moments before we woke up in this sandy scramble. You were living under the hot hand of Pharaoh, with enough chains and restrictions to make even Houdini reconsider his career choices. Then, surprise, along comes Moses, your ancient superhero, without a cape, sadly. This dude just walked up to the Pharaoh and dropped metaphors like they were hot potatoes, boldly demanding, "Let my people go." Can you picture that dramatic scene? One minute, you're thinking of ways to sweet-talk the local goat vendor, and the next minute, Moses is standing before Pharaoh like he just walked on water. Only this time, it's about to happen. The river is splitting wide open, allowing your people to walk through while the fishes cheer from the sidelines. But here's the kicker. After all that drama, what awaits you? A 40-year detour in the desert, like going to the grocery store and ending up on a spontaneous road trip to nowhere. But fear not, for this isn't just a case of bad GPS. It's a timeout for the Israelites. A divine timeout, if you will, due to your ancestors' slip-ups. Let's pause for a second and reflect. Does that sound familiar? Ever think about how, when you procrastinate paying that little speeding ticket, the universe decides you need a timeout of sorts? Except your timeout isn't made of comfy chairs and snacks, but hot sand and a next level, trust me, it'll get better attitude. It's like waiting for a package delivery that just keeps getting delayed. Can't we just skip forward to the happy ending already? You'd think wandering the desert might inspire a surge of creativity. Yes, a prestigious new career in sand sculpture art. But no, the Israelites were busy trying to figure out how to make bread without an oven, while just hoping that their feet didn't roast like marshmallows over an open flame. Meanwhile, Moses is up the hill, chatting it up with the big guy himself, probably saying something suave like, "Yo, can you help my people out? We're starting to feel like extras in a really long epic movie here." And there you are,
standing there, scratching your head and wondering if you should start a Desert Survivor series. Spoiler alert, the finale depends on a little thing called faith. Faith that you'll blink your eyes once and find the promised land waiting for you like a long-lost friend. Or perhaps even better, like a table laden with exotic feasts. So as you lay there, let's let those thoughts drift away like the grains of sand in the city you left behind. You're not just a mere wanderer. You're part of a rich tapestry of legacy, resilience, and perhaps, yes, a sprinkle of humor. Because what's history without a dash of absurdity? Allow your mind to capture the laughter of those who endured, the warmth of shared stories, and the hope of a bright future restored. And soon, as you find yourself slowly drifting off into a peaceful slumber, carry with you the courage of a community rising above despair, ready to embrace the light of tomorrow. Sweet dreams, dear wanderer, for the stars in your sky tonight have borne witness to the journey of the faithful, and you too are part of this timeless tale. Now close your eyes and let the whispers of the desert breeze lead you to the dreams of ancient Israelite adventures. Because, at last, your 40-year detour is about to unveil something even more miraculous just around the corner. Chapter 16. A Bold New Dawn in Canaan. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight we embark on an adventure that's spicier than your aunt's famous curry at family gatherings. We'll waltz into the Iron Age, specifically into the land of Canaan, under the ever-determined, sandal-wearing leadership of Joshua. So grab your imaginary walking sticks, and unlike your last camping trip, let's hope we don't encounter any irritable porcupines or old grievances resurfacing. Imagine a world where a mere snack involves plucking fruits from scattered trees rather than a 24-hour convenience store run. Yes, this is the 10th century BCE, when takeout involved a bow and arrow, along with a good old-fashioned hunt. The sun is blazing, the air is filled with a mix of excitement and the smell of agricultural aspirations. You know, like freshly tilled soil and hopes for a bumper harvest. As you wake up in this vibrant, ancient time, confusion reigns supreme. Where am I? You ponder in your half-dreamy state. You quickly discover that you are among the courageous children of the Israelites, born not in cozy nurseries, but in the expansive wilderness of freedom, where sand dunes might as well have been your best friends. Your dreams of modern conveniences crumble faster than any leftover bread. Now, let's pause for a second. This land of promise is not just a vacation destination, it's a battleground. Just like modern apartment hunting in lively neighborhoods, the Israelites are here to establish a foothold against the fierce natives, the Canaanite tribes. And let me tell you, they're not exactly offering a warm welcome with cookies and milk. More like a series of exasperated glares and get-off-my-lawn attitude. You take a stroll through the camp, where the air buzzes with anticipation and the occasional squawking of goats competing over your crumbs. Ah, goats. Nothing says ancient living quite like tripping over your neighbor's flock, who, might I add, have somehow figured out how to stare with judgmental eyes. Did you really just lose your sandals again? They seem to ask. The Israelites are bustling about, strategizing their next move for establishing their presence in this land. Enter Joshua, your new favorite fearless leader. Think of him as the ultimate combination of a rock star and a motivational speaker from a different era. With a voice like thunder and charisma that could charm the leaves off the trees, he rallies this spirited bunch, asking them to muster their faith and courage as they embark on their new conquest. Picture this. "All right, people," he bellows. "We didn't leave behind the marshmallows of Egypt for nothing. Let's show those Canaanites we mean business." At this moment, the air feels electric, as if a flock of particularly cheeky sparrows has just landed on the tent roof, chattering excitedly about this game of conquest. But let's get real. Although this may feel like a Disney movie moment, trust me, there's drama lurking around every corner, like a cat preparing to pounce. Filled with hopes of fertile lands and luscious fruits, the Israelites are met head-on by stubborn local tribes who've claimed the ground for generations. It's a classic case of, "This is our home. sorely reminiscent of your attempts to claim the last piece of pizza at a party, fiercely contested. Let's take a closer look at the neighborhood. The Canaanites have a reputation for their fortified cities and crafty tactics. In comparison, the Israelites come charging in with a determined yet somewhat haphazard approach, much like how one might tackle a grocery list after a long day. Enthusiasm, initially convincing, but results varying greatly. Yes, I got the milk. Oh no, did I buy cereal with marshmallows again? As you witness these ancient battles unfold, a thought strikes you. Ever been in a situation where you wished you'd prepared a bit more, maybe even brought snacks and a full-on itinerary? This was no casual first day at school scenario. The rules of engagement were sticky, and the stakes ran higher than the tallest Babylonian tower. However, while the struggle is palpable, the Israelites find strength in unity, a refreshing detox from the petty squabbles of everyday life. They are more than mere tribes. They stand as a unified community, adorned in robes and the brightest colors, ready to challenge the chaos. Think of them as one synchronized swimming team trying to dance through the storm, but instead getting caught in a giant whirlpool of rushing water. Noble, engaging, but occasionally drenched. Amidst the clashes and triumphs, a sprinkle of humor bubbles up. Occasionally, you catch snippets of conversations that mimic modern-day banter. "I could have sworn I saw that tree moving earlier," one whisperer quips. "Right, more like the entire landscape is conspiring against us," another jests back, holding firmly onto the reality that earthly concerns are often accompanied by a touch of absurdity. And amidst these chaotic moments, what awaits you, brave dreamer? The promise of a belated victory, a sense of belonging, and the divine assurance that amidst the trials and triumphs, higher powers are at play. Let's not forget that your sandy sandals are definitely destined for a land fruitful with promise, rolling hills, and the sweet whispers of fate. As you snuggle deeper into this narrative, wrap yourself in a cozy blanket of these stories, and let the laughter of ancestors echo in your dreams. A constant reminder that the past is a whimsical tapestry woven with valiant hearts, absurd struggles, and a sprinkle of humor that makes history oh so very alive. Now, as reality begins to fade, let the dance of Joshua and his rather enthusiastic crew pull you gently towards slumber, where visions of giants, lands of milk and honey, and a divine promise linger just beyond the curve of your dreams. Sweet dreams, dear traveler. May they whisk you away to lands untold, where bravery and belief cut through the dark like the sun piercing the veil of clouds. Chapter 17. A Kingdom of Wonders and Witty Wonders. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, get ready to dive deeper than your cousin's whoopee cushion at family gatherings. We're heading into the 10th century BCE, a time when eyebrows were thick and kingdoms were thicker than a two-piece suit at a summer wedding. So, pack your imaginary bags and prepare for a royal roll through the land ruled by the dynamic duo, the chic and wise King David and his dapper son, Solomon. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's for dinner? Well, in this era, it probably involves some grilled lamb, chickpeas, and dates, all seasoned with a dash of longing for a refrigerator. Just think of it, a time when food preservation was more art than science. You might walk into a kitchen and think, ah yes, today's menu is brought to you by the frequent trips to the market method. Who needs a cookbook anyway? Let's pause here for a moment. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to have your caveman ancestors look at you in confusion because you complain about Wi-Fi and not living in a palace? Speak about priorities. You're standing in the serene, lush pastures of Israel, where the air smells like a farmer's market on a sunny Sunday. And, lo and behold, over yonder, a bold fig tree offers its ripe treasures. Is it just me, or does a fig seem like nature's version of candy? Congratulations, dear dreamer. You've just woken up in the Kingdom of Israel, a time when myths were real and real was mystical. You stumble out of your snug straw mattress, arms stretching like a tired owl emerging from a long sleep. As you peer out, the brilliance of your surroundings hits you like the familiar smell of freshly brewed coffee on a Monday morning. Ah, the kingdom is alive with sounds, the rustle of olive trees whispering ancient secrets, and the distant laughter of artisans shaping beautiful pottery. What a life! Do you think the folks around here had to deal with the "who broke the pottery" discussions? Picture them with indignation. It wasn't me, it was the wind. The drama thickens with every passing moment, like a good stew left on the fire a tad too long. But let's get back to the star of the show, King David. Picture a man who commands an army like the conductor of an orchestra, steering the symphony of battle with his trusty harp. Yes, not a sword. Imagine him strumming away to calm his nerves before a fight. Take it easy, David. Just one more pluck, and we'll win this war. All while his generals exchange looks as if to say, is he really doing that again? As you wander around, you spot King David himself leading his people with wisdom, wit, and a unique penchant for avoiding paperwork. Who can blame him? Navigating through piles of scrolls must feel a lot like sorting laundry, always more than you anticipated. You can almost hear him exclaim, "Praise be, why do we have so many royal decrees? I didn't sign up for this." Now enter the scene stealer Solomon, young, handsome, and perhaps a tad overachieving. Could he perhaps win Best Son in a hypothetical reality show where the prize is an opulent golden crown? You can imagine him holding court, sharing wisdom and solving disputes like a savvy therapist hosting a weekly therapy session. Picture him saying, "Let's discuss your feelings about sharing the last piece of honey-sweet baklava." However, it's worth noting that ruling wasn't all sunshine and coffee breaks by the fig tree. There were challenges too. Think of the Canaanites, the neighboring tribes, and the drama that unfolded, much like a reality TV show where everyone is vying for the same coveted plot of land. "No, I swear, they've been trying to take our land since the last olive harvest. It's like they're determined to give us indigestion." Amid all this splendid chaos, let's talk propulsion, the divine promise that reigns above. This very kingdom, flourishing with life and laughter, is no simple tale. It bears the divine blessing, a show of power that comes from heights unseen, promising a place where faith unites and hope flourishes. Surely that's a sign worth taking a moment to ponder, right? Amid the laughter, spirited dancing, and David playing his harp, one can't help but share a chuckle about court life. Why do we keep losing those weed drafts for the next feast? David might scoff. I refuse to eat soggy bread at my own banquet. And yet, amidst these amusing theatrics, it's the splendor of divine promise that shines through. Imagine Solomon, the professional diplomat, ensuring every sidebar vexation was handled with eloquence. "My dear friends," he might say, "let's settle this like grown-ups with a game of rock, paper, scissors. Because why engage in warfare when you can settle disputes over a competitive match?" The kingdom blossomed under the rule of both David and Solomon, a tale threading through the fabric of time itself. Together, they built a legacy so profound that even the passing of centuries wouldn't dim its light. So, dear traveler of dreams, let images of trumpeting elephants, jubilant crowds, and a promise ever greater guide your mind to peaceful slumber tonight. As you nestle deeper into this dreamy realm, allow the sounds of laughter and wisdom to wrap around you. May divine inspirations fill your heart, while ancient echoes of splendor lull you into a restful sleep. Sweet dreams await, wondrous explorer. Drift away knowing that through all trials and tests, the light of faith leads you homeward, just like King David leading his people into a new dawn of hope. A new dawn. Chapter 18. The Shattered Crown. Salam alaikum, gentle dreamers. Tonight, we embark on a tale more chaotic than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. The setting? Israel in the 10th century BCE, a time when kingdoms flourished, but drama was thicker than a bowl of split pea soup forgotten on the stove. So, settle back like you're preparing for a marathon of your favorite sitcom, and let's travel back to a royal mess worthy of both a tragedy and a comedy. Now, you may wonder, did kings have to deal with the same petty arguments that families face during the holidays? You bet. I mean, picture it. Who left the olives out on the banquet table? Not me. I was too busy planning a nation's next campaign. Or, who's in charge of cleaning the royal bathroom? The age-old question of leadership responsibility. As we plunge further into our saga, you might also ponder what kind of royal attire was in fashion. Tunic styles more complex than your favorite puzzle. And were those fancy headdresses really comfortable? Or did they pinch more than a poor soul trying to squeeze into last season's trousers? Who knows, but I'm guessing it was all in the name of looking good before getting into a family feud. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the aftermath of King Solomon's reign, a time when whispers of divine favor soared, yet the very threads of the kingdom began to unravel faster than sweater yarn at an enthusiastic knitting circle. Picture a freshly polished throne, its gleam witnessing a sudden vacuum of power. A regal creak echoes through the lavish halls of a once unified kingdom, where the echoes of laughter now morph into squabbles and dismay. As you take in your surroundings, you realize that the once mighty song of Israel has become a cacophony of dissent. Solomon's death, a moment so monumental that it could only be likened to the terrible realization that the last piece of baklava at a family gathering is gone, has shifted the harmony of the 12 tribes into a dissonant chorus. The tribes. 10 out of the 12, feeling more divided than those siblings fighting over the TV remote, have outright rejected the rule of Solomon's son, Rehoboam. How do you think a king feels when more than half his subjects are shouting, "Not my king"? They feel like someone who just realized they've been eating gluten all along, confused and frustrated. As you gaze upon the bustling streets, imagine traders and farmers swapping bitter complaints like gossiping neighbors. Did you hear? Rehoboam wants to raise our taxes. What's next? Jewelry checks at the temple gate? Picture an artisan having a midlife crisis while trying to shape clay pots, thinking, what's the point if we're all about to be up to our necks in royal taxes? Meanwhile, Rehoboam, bless his heart, has an idea. Let's consult the wise elders of the land. However, they're too busy reminiscing about their glory days like over-the-hill champions who can't stop talking about their college football achievements. To recall the days when I could throw my spear with ease, those were the days. But when Rehoboam reaches out to his young friends, oh boy, let the chaos reign. Who needs wisdom when you can pump up your power? They chant enthusiastically. Picture a crew of endearing but misguided sidekicks encouraging their buddy to take the hardest line, saying, "Show them who's boss. Strengthen the grip, man." The result? A decision made so hasty it could only be compared to sending a text message without proofreading. Thus, in a wave of fresh turmoil, the whispers of rebellion sprout like unwanted weeds, and sparks fly higher than a poorly aimed javelin. When Rehoboam boldly steps into the assembly, proclaiming, "My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your burden," crowds respond with disbelief. Seriously? Is this actually happening? The air feels electrified with tension. It's as if a thunderstorm waited just long enough to hold back its fury, only to release rain at the worst possible moment, shocking and uninvited. The public outcry pierces through the tumult, leading to the fracture of the once unified realm. The 10 tribes rally around a seasoned warrior by the name of Jeroboam, because if you can't join them, then definitely challenge them. And so begins the slippery slope into an era of chaos rivaled only by the plots of your favorite edge-of-your-seat drama series. Every tribe carves out its own path, pitting conflicting loyalties against one another, a tapestry of politics weaving together like a jigsaw puzzle gone wrong. Imagine a scene where trusted advisors find themselves torn between loyalty and pragmatism. Newly minted factions forming like new social media feeds that you're too tired to keep up with. Our tale now spirals into the political minefields of promise and peril. It's crucial to understand that amid this chaos, every tribe has a story. One tribe walks away, vowing, "We'd rather risk it all than be tethered to expired royal feud," while another rallies with nostalgic talks of past glories. "Don't you remember Solomon's wisdom? Wouldn't it be nice to have a sip of that royal wisdom just one more time?" And alas, just when you think it couldn't get any more entertaining, a prophet emerges bearing a message of impending doom, a divine joke from above, or perhaps a sign of things to come. Throw in the curious symbolism of two rains promised to the children of Israel, and a beacon of hope shining faintly in the shadows. This, dear dreamers, is where calamity meets divine promise, and where the remnants of faith spark new flickers of hope mingled with echoes of division. So, as the dreamscape twirls and your heavy eyelids grow droopier, let your mind be enwrapped in this vibrant tapestry of chaos, wonder, and divine orchestration. Think of those tribes, feeling the pangs of strife and division, knowing intimately the dance of power and disobedience as the stage begins to set for the final act. May your dreams weave together the stories of the ancient and the now, gently guiding you through the labyrinth of time, where echoes of history blend into the present. Drift away, sweet dreamer, knowing that even amidst the turmoil, a promise awaits, and every ending opens doors to new beginnings. Sweet dreams. Chapter 19. Rise of the Unrighteous. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight we find ourselves more tangled than a pair of headphones in your back pocket, exploring the chaotic corridors of a kingdom steeped in unrest. Welcome to Israel in the 10th century BCE. Imagine a time when grievances kicked off more debates than a family reunion over a plate of cold biryani. So tuck in, dim the lights, and get comfortable like you're nestled under a cozy blanket lighter than your favorite cousin's guilt after borrowing money for a business venture. And if you enjoy this journey through time, don't forget to lend us your thumbs, pour out your comments, and hit subscribe. But only if you actually like this sort of thing, of course. Now, have you ever wondered what it was like for rulers who juggled kingdoms more precariously than a bunch of circus clowns? How did they handle back-to-back complaints of dilapidated chariots while still trying to impress their neighbors with grandiose royal feasts? Were their fearsome armies more afraid of taxes than actual battles? And, speaking of pyrotechnics, did they have fireworks for national celebrations, or did they just set off some raucous sheep hoping for the best? Well, congratulations. You've just woken up in 10th century BCE, where politics resembled a reality TV show destined to go awry. The once unified Kingdom of Israel is now a fragmented landscape. Think of it as the ancient equivalent of that awkward moment when you realize you've invited your two rival friends to the same party. The air is thick with discontent. Let me paint the picture for you. As you stroll through the lively market streets, overwhelmed by the spice of stories and the sense of efficiency gone wrong, you can hear the grumbling of the people. Did you hear Rehoboam's latest tax hike? What's next? Charging us for breathing? One merchant shouts, to which another eagerly responds, "Only if your camel farts while you're doing it." Ah, the folly of good intentions. Clear skies soon cloud over as Rehoboam, bless his ambitious soul, seeks counsel. He first consults the wise elders of the land, who feel more nostalgic than a retiree clutching an old pair of golf shoes. "Back in my day, we preferred honesty over inflated taxes," they reminisce. But unfortunately, their wisdom falls onto ears eager for youthful folly. Meanwhile, Rehoboam's youthful entourage advises him with vigor. "Stomp your feet, unleash the lion, make sure they know you mean business," they urge, waving their hands as if rehearsing some dramatic soliloquy straight out of a comedy. And so, powered by bravado and a hint of arrogance, Rehoboam declares, "My father was tough, but I'll be tougher. You thought his taxes were bad? Here come the triple taxes. At that moment, you can almost feel the collective gasp resonate through the market, like the sound of a balloon bursting at a birthday party. Did he really just do
That, someone mutters incredulously. Chaos is imminent, like a flock of sparrows startled by an overzealous cat. And just like that, the revolt ignites. Out in the fields, shepherds and laborers rise with a rallying cry that echoes loud enough to alarm the sheep. "We stand for justice, not ribs and taxes," declares Jeroboam, a man of the people sporting what may very well be the finest beard in the region, an impressive feat that causes jealousy even among the goats. Now there's a plot twist that could give any melodrama a run for its money. In this chaotic time, you find a tapestry woven with complexities, some based on noble aspirations, others festooned with avarice. Call it a royal soap opera with bloodlines steeped in scandal and the ever-present grip of ambition. And there's no denying, my fellow traveler, that as the spirit of the people rises to challenge ingrained injustice, the seeds of corruption only seem to take root deeper. Meanwhile, the divide keeps growing. Rights and responsibilities fracture like an old clay pot dropped on the floor. The richest of the rich sit lavishly, following the whims of new leaders more focused on asserting power than ensuring prosperity. It's a political circus of reenactments played out in loud decor. History books might remember these days as the Age of Unrighteousness, where vanity and greed held what they thought was the crown jewel of governance, yet managed only to attract discontent, predictable as a cat knocking over a vase. And now, as the denizens of Israel find their regrets rolling downhill like pebbles in a stream, you can almost hear divine laughter above. It's a comedic spectacle undercutting this tale of woe. The more they fought for power, the more unworthy they became. It's a divine principle revealed. As the most vile among them clamber higher like a toddler on a sugar rush, they set themselves up for destruction steeped in irony. Imagine the day when power teeters off into exhaustion, plants growing unrestrained, and blessings that dried up faster than the cackle of an unobserved hen. So, as you gently drift toward slumber, serenaded by the whispers of history, remember that even in the darkest times, the promise of a divine conclusion lingers just around the corner. Let your dreams coalesce with the echoes of this ancient saga, where chaos invites not just sadness, but also glimmers of hope. And sleep well knowing that every tale told in shadow and light reveals a deeper narrative, reminding us all that every ending carries the weight of new beginnings. Sweet dreams, dear wanderers. Chapter 20. A March of Misfortunes. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, we embark on a journey that's colder than the leftovers you forgot in the fridge. A historical dive back into the heartbreak and hilarity of 10th century BCE Israel. Picture vast armies marching through the sands of time, with determined expressions that would put even today's most intense joggers to shame. As we unravel a tale where political drama meets divine retribution, let's dim the lights and grab that cozy blanket tighter than your cat's grip on your favorite chair. You might be wondering, did the kings have their own rooms for tantrums? How did people really feel about their leaders? Was there a suggestion box? Before we dive into how an army could trample a kingdom like a toddler on a Lego pile, let's settle into the atmosphere. Imagine the sights, the sounds, the smell of roasted lamb mixed with a hint of impending disaster. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the Iron Age, surrounded by the splendor and strife of a kingdom, where the air is thick with tension and the aroma of fresh-baked bread. The sun beats down mercilessly, and the chatter of market vendors fills the streets. They're discussing the latest gossip louder than a pack of geese at feeding time. Did you hear about King Rehoboam? He's about as welcome as a porcupine at a balloon party, one merchant quips while trying to shove a plate of falafel at you. Yes, that's right. The kingdom of Israel is teetering on the brink, all thanks to a series of royal miscalculations.
Just as your favorite soap opera seems to reach new heights of absurdity, the political stage is set for a tragi-comic royal muddle. Wandering the streets, you can hear whispers about taxes higher than a giraffe on stilts. "What does he think we are, made of gold?" asks another merchant, his voice dripping with sarcasm. But here's where the story begins to twist. Word has it that the Assyrians are on the move. That's right, an army larger than your uncle's fish stories is marching towards the land like a thunderstorm that forgot to check the weather. With their iron weapons glinting in the sun, they seem determined to turn not just heads, but entire kingdoms upside down. As you plunge deeper into the chaos, suddenly, the cries of alarm blanket the market louder than a chicken in a room full of cats. "They're here! The Assyrians are at the gates!" echo the voices of the terrified. And truth be told, they might as well be. They're like a surprise guest at a potluck. Nobody wanted them, but here they are, and they brought calamity instead of casserole. Now, let's set the stage with a quick description. You can almost see the dust clouds rising in the distance, heralding the approach of the Assyrian army. You can almost taste the fear mingling with the smell of freshly baked bread in the air. Seriously, where's the local baker? If there was ever a moment to drown sorrows in carbs, this is it. The Assyrians, with their shields glistening like grandma's best cast-iron skillet under the hot sun, break through the defenses of the Israelite kingdom. Imagine their approach, a rather fierce-looking royal version of a small-town parade, minus the floats and candy, and add a few catapults. The ground trembles, and you can hear the sound of marching feet set to a rhythm of doom. Now, hold your breath for a second. Here comes disaster number 2, and it ain't taking a coffee break. With little time for proper goodbyes, and more taxes waiting at their gates than they can count, townsfolk are quite literally running for the hills, their possessions flung about like glitter at a child's birthday party. Chaos, indeed. Fast forward through an array of smoke and battle, we witness once grand palaces reduced to rubble, like a house of cards turned on its side. The Assyrians, with their delightful penchant for destruction, cart off not just valuables, but the very essence of what it meant to be a citizen of Israel. And just when you thought the march of misfortune couldn't get any worse, along comes the Babylonians, thinking, "Hey, we want a piece of that action." Like kids on a playground who saw the last cookie, they cannot resist a chance to raid the crumbling remnants. Thrones toppling, hearts breaking. It's a tragedy you'd find easier to laugh at if you weren't so invested. Picture it. Neighbors are now distant memories, and our poor Israelites are carted off like buffalo on a basis for tomorrow's dinner. So here we are, ensnared in a cataclysmic saga, where misfortunes, not unlike any relatable sitcom, dance from drama to disaster, with a pinch of divine irony and a sprinkle of humor. However, through this raucous wreckage, a message looms on the horizon, a promise that one day everything will settle like dust after a storm. Faithful to its people, as always, waiting to unveil the divine next steps. Ready for the next chapter? As our world spins with these ancient tales, remember, even in tumultuous times, hope is as enduring as that one song you can't get out of your head. So close your eyes and drift into sleep, cradled by the whispers of old, until the next chapter beckons you forth. Sweet dreams, dear travelers. Chapter 21. The Dispersal of Dreams and Kings. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, we delve into a story that's drier than your uncle's jokes. Welcome to the captivating chaos of the Iron Age, specifically the legendary 10th century BCE Israel. Here, kingdoms rise and fall faster than a toddler on a sugar high. Imagine a world where the bread is fresh, the gossip is juicier than the fruits at the market, and the mood can flip quicker than your Wi-Fi going out in the middle of an intense binge watch. You may be scratching your head and thinking, did they have spa days back then? What did they wear to royal tantrums? Were there royal divorce lawyers fighting over almond oil? Picture the chaos baking beneath the surface, simmering like an unclaimed stew bubbling away in the kitchen. Are you ready to dive deep into a world where power took a holiday and dreams were dispatched to the winds? Grab your pillows. This story might just turn your dreams upside down. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 10th century BCE Israel, a time when your evening news could be literally life or death. The scent of roasted lamb wafts through the air, mixed with a hint of trepidation. Imagine the sound of market chatter louder than an excited classroom. Vendors attempting to outdo each other, bellowing, "Cheapest figs this side of the Euphrates!" And isn't it splendidly absurd? There's always one merchant standing at the corner insisting that leather sandals are the new black. But amidst the humor and bustle, things are about to take a most unexpected turn. The Iron Age is more about spears clashing than the paparazzi snapping photos of kings prancing about in silk robes. Word on the dusty streets is that the Assyrians are keen to visit. Armed and ready for surprise guest appearances, they'd prefer not being on the invitation list. Can you imagine their entrance? A parade of warriors, some acting like they've never seen a barber, marching in a rhythm that would make any drummer proud, and their shields gleaming in the sun like it's a review day at a military academy. So, let's talk about bathing. Or rather, let's not. You might think that any self-respecting human would want to fresher up before battle, but alas, the Israelites are more concerned about buying time and hurling down their dinner. Suddenly, a dusty cloud rolls in, and with it comes catastrophe. The Assyrians are approaching, bellows a panicked onlooker. It's as if the entire marketplace has dropped its wares to chase after that last slice of pita before it vanished forever. And why wouldn't they? Fleeing, you witness neighbors shoving their goods aside faster than you can say, "Important meeting." Furniture flies out of windows like a spontaneous spring cleaning. One unfortunate soul is forlornly dragging a goat along, probably thinking, "I knew I should have left you with my aunt." It's pure chaos unfolding, with laughter tickling the edges, families, children, and a few bewildered goats scattered like marbles at a carnival. Ice cream stands no chance here. You can imagine the biggest panic-selling popsicles never standing a chance against an impending invasion. What's next? The sound of marching feet setting a grim tone, as those Assyrians, packed with determination, charge toward the gates as if they are late for an important football match. But dear dreamers, as history tells us, this isn't just about chaos, it's also about clarity. The Israelites, desperately seeking shelter, begin to realize the utter madness of their predicament. Their dreams of kingdom and rule are unraveling faster than our attempts to fold fitted sheets. Nothing quite screams dispersal of dreams like watching your kingdom fall. Like a piñata bursting at a child's birthday party, only instead of candy, it's your very existence being tossed into oblivion. Now, as the dust finally begins to settle, let's take a moment to appreciate the absurdity and gravity of it all. The clouds overhead race across the sun, mirroring the turmoil below. Can we even fathom how absurd life must feel when the glittering dreams of power are snatched away in a heartbeat? It's like being promised a delicious meal, only to find it's been turned into mystery stew. Good luck guessing what's in there. And here comes another twist. Just when the Assyrians have made themselves comfortable and our dear Israelites are feeling as lost as car keys in a couch, it's time for a new chapter, one that promises hope, rebirth, and perhaps a glimmer of divine favor. As the kingdoms crumble, the whispers of a final sign shimmer in the air. A promise that one day the sands will shift in their favor. But alas, that's a hefty tale for another night. Until then, rest easy. Dream sweetly of a world where kingdoms rise, fall, and occasionally get interrupted by surprise visits from overzealous armies. Sweet dreams, dear travelers, as tomorrow's lessons on power, perseverance, and potential await. Would you look at that? Another historical slumber fest in the books. Sleep well, and may your dreams carry you softly across time and realms beyond. Chapter 22.
The rise of a new power. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, we embark on a journey that's hotter than your auntie's curry on a sweltering summer day. The emergence of a new power. Welcome to the sands of history as we find ourselves catapulted straight into the whirlwind of the 7th century. Imagine a time when your social media feed was made up of chariots, battles, and a little thing called revelation. Yep, no filters or hashtags, but plenty of drama. Before we dive headfirst into this fascinating epic, let's get cozy. Dim the lights, turn on a fan, and nestle your head against a heavenly pillow. As we drift into these ancient realms, wouldn't it be fun to ponder questions like, what would you wear to a royal banquet? Would it be considered a fashion faux pas if your robes snagged on someone's chariot wheel? Do you think their idea of a wedding ring was just a well-placed piece of fruit? What on earth did folks argue about when they had no smartphones? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the 7th century. Imagine the delicate scent of sandalwood wafting on the breeze, mixed with a dash of excitement and the faint sound of, well, let's hope that's just the wind and not an approaching army. The air vibrates with the chatter of merchants boasting about silk quality and spices, while children scamper about playing games that might give your kids reason to ask for a historical reenactment on movie night. As the morning sun climbs higher, the scene before you is striking. Picture bustling bazaars where people barter for goods like spices, textiles, and, hold your horses, perhaps even ideas. Yes, ideas. These folks are not just literally turning profits, they're churning out persuasive speeches that could give modern politicos a run for their money. Can you imagine trading a bag of dates for advice on how to win a political debate? Let's sweeten the pot, eh? Suddenly, a commotion grabs your attention. Over yonder, an impromptu gathering seems to form around an extremely animated gentleman with a bushy beard that gives you major wise old man vibes. He's regaling an audience with tales of triumph against the great empires of Persia and Rome. You lean in, unable to resist the magnetic allure of his storytelling, as he recounts tales of audacious battles fought with courage as prominent as a new moon in the night sky. "Victory!" he bellows. "When we, the Muslims, rose like the morning sun, driving back our foes with nothing but faith and swords." Now, let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Can you feel the tension in this narrative? It's like watching a thriller unfold on the screen, except the only screen here is the vast desert, stretching endlessly into the horizon. The suspense is all-encompassing, lurking just behind each grainy dune. But what's this juxtaposition of power and piety? How extraordinary! These people didn't just care about kingdoms and riches, they sought something grander, the divine purpose behind it all. The voice behind the crowd speaks of an underdog story. It's like the tale of David and Goliath, only here the role of David is played by an unassuming band of believers armed with a steadfast spirit. Never mind doing your daily exercises, they were going for the heavyweight title of the universe. "Can I get a warrior chant?" you muse, picturing the group energetically rallying behind warriors in white robes. With some humor, because honestly, who wouldn't want a feel-good chant to fight their daily hardships? And yet, amidst this jubilant atmosphere, there's an undeniable twist of fate. It's like the last slice of pizza at a party, coveted and fought over. As the believers become numerous and boast immense wealth, whispers of their past begin swirling in the air, softer than the desert winds. The Assyrians, having made their not-so-funny entrance earlier, represent an eternal reminder of historical grace, as if life had decided to serve a side of comeuppance with every evolving storyline. You can't help but chuckle at the audacity of the universe. What's next? A royal decree declaring all-you-can-eat feast for the victorious? Alas, this isn't just any dramatic play. It's history getting hot under the collar, and it's transforming in real time. As tensions build and kingdoms clash,
You'd think they were attempting to create the ultimate Game of Thrones episode. But in their quest for power, our protagonists find something infinitely greater, a chance for divine mission and destiny unfiltered by human influence. And here you stand amidst all this, part witness, part participant, in this saga of triumph, love, courage, and a sprinkle of humor. As the vibrant colors of dawn wash over the scene, reflect and dream on these moments carved in time, where power, faith, and something beautifully divine converge, like the unpredictable winds of destiny seeking their balance. Now, as our chapter draws to a close, take a breath and let your imagination wander. Consider what it means to claim victory, not just over empires, but over the challenges in our own lives. Perhaps our journey echoes this ancient tale, reminding us that at the end of every struggle, as promised, lies a glimpse of our enduring purpose, often even sweeter than victory itself. So drift gently into slumber, dear dreamers, where the stories of old interweave with the whispers of the night sky. As you close your eyes, may visions of ancient powers lead you to newfound treasures hidden in your own heart. Sweet dreams await, gently lulled into the embrace of a time where faith conquered not just kingdoms, but the very essence of what it means to be human, what it means to be. Chapter 23, The Conquest of Jerusalem and a New Dawn. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, we glide through the sands of time, arriving at an epoch where conquests were more frequent than midlife crises at a family reunion. Picture this. It's 630 CE, a scenic year when your Instagram would have been overflowing with images of majestic armies, holy sites, and perhaps a few awkward selfies, if only filters and phones existed. But who needs high-tech gear when you have swords gleaming in the sun and determination coursing like iced tea on a hot summer day? Enough of the daydreaming. Let's bring it back to the facts. As we settle into our cozy pillows, let me ask you, in the spirit of fun, would you wear armor that chafes or opt for a nice soft robe? Would you dine on a lavish feast of dates and figs, or would that be too basic for a conquest of Jerusalem? And just imagine if you were tasked with leading the cleaning of an entire city. Talk about a spring cleaning that skipped several seasons. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the vibrant and chaotic Jerusalem of 630 CE. The city hums with activity. Merchants are hawking their wares, and the air smells of spices so vibrant they could make your morning coffee seem bland. You stand at the threshold of history, where faith meets fate, almost as dramatic as when your friend proposes a group outing that everyone ends up regretting afterward. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts with palpable excitement. Enter Caliph Omar, a leader with the charisma of 1,000 influencers combined, conquering far more territory than your average neighborhood guy with a lawnmower. Under his command, the crescent moon of Islam casts a hopeful glow over Jerusalem. The city has been locked in conflict, changing hands more than a lost pair of car keys. But amid this upheaval, Omar's decree rings clear. Social harmony awaits. Now, let's talk about our Jewish brethren, the Bani Israel. Picture them wandering in as if they were attending the world's largest reunion picnic. Because, spoiler alert, when Omar arrives, he finds the Jewish quarter abandoned, a scene reminiscent of a post-Lent diet party. No one around, and quite frankly, an eyesore. The remnants of human neglect litter streets that once bustled with life. However, our caliph has a mission. It's time for a makeover. Armed with more optimism than a contestant on a home renovation show, Omar doesn't just stand there scratching his beard. No, he rolls up his sleeves, figuratively, since historical figures didn't have the luxury of a good before and after filter. Omar starts cleaning. Yes, cleaning. Can you imagine the look on the faces of his soldiers? Oh great, we're not patients in a wellness retreat. This isn't about yoga and juice cleanses. But Omar persists. As the dirt smudges are scrubbed away, the Jewish quarter starts to breathe again. Omar sends out invitations to the Jewish community. He even pulls out all the stops, rolling out the metaphorical red carpet, probably with a hot meal waiting, because nothing says welcome back like a lavish spread of hummus and pita. You can hear the buzz as the locals murmur, "Did he just invite us back? What's this, a divine Groupon?" Omar extends an olive branch. Not a literal one, mind you, but an ethos of coexistence and respect that we still aspire to today. Maybe he believed that peace, much like the best pizza in town, was tastier when shared. As they return, imagine the camaraderie. Smiles, laughter, and discussions over whose grandma makes the best baklava. It's a mosaic of identities, with the rich history of Bani Israel interwoven into the tapestry of this new Islamic epoch. The vibrant mix of cultures buzzes together like a bees' conference, where everyone's sharing their best ideas for honey. It's incredible how history can pivot on a simple act, cleaning up the mess, literally and metaphorically. Can we find the will to do as Omar did? To build bridges and create spaces where faith flourishes side by side? Maybe it all starts with a humble broom or a well-timed compliment. As our chapter begins to gentle its close, let this resolve resonate with you. In moments of chaos and conflict, sometimes all it takes is a little kindness, a good scrubbing, and making room to invite others back into the fold of community. Perhaps sending that awkwardly worded apology over a pretend dirt incident isn't so goofy after all. So drift off into a peaceful slumber with those thoughts as your companions. In the realm of dreams, may you return to this moment, tucked in the loving embrace of our shared humanity, where the echoes of ancient laughter ripple through time, reminding us to not just cohabitate the earth, but to uplift one another in spirit. Sweet dreams, beautifully diverse dreamers, and good night.
Chapter 24. The Shift of Sands and Dreams of a Homeland. Salam alaikum, dear dreamers. Tonight, as we nestle under our soft blankets, we journey into the late 19th century, a time more crowded than a deli at lunchtime, and trust me, no one likes jumps in the queue, least of all historical figures. Imagine bustling European streets filled with minds whirring like washing machines, while whispers of Zionism begin to rise louder than your uncle's snoring after Thanksgiving dinner. Get yourself comfy, because we're about to delve into a tale where dreams of homeland are as potent as the smell of fresh bread wafting through your favorite bakery. And I must ask, have you ever craved something so deeply that you rattled on about it at dinner, annoying everyone around you with your zealous plans? Well, let's just say the aspirations of our dear European Jews during this era were akin to a toddler insisting on cake for breakfast. Only this cake was a land called Palestine. But first, let's ponder this. If you were a Jew in Europe at the time, would you pack your bags with a heart full of hope? Or would you throw in a few extra pairs of socks for what-ifs? And really, what would you do if your vision of a homeland included something more than just a plot of land, like a pizza shop in every corner? Would you opt for a country recipe of hummus, or go straight for the falafel? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the late 1880s. The streets around you are crowded with excited voices. Shouts in Yiddish and Hebrew dance through the air like children playing tag. European Jews, formerly hesitant under clouds of discrimination, begin congregating like eager bees in search of the sweetest nectar. Why? They dream of a united homeland. The whispers of Zionism swirl through the streets, igniting hearts with visions of Palestine as a land teeming with potential, as lush and fruitful as a Mediterranean garden. But let's be real here. How would that dream play out in your average coffee shop? You can already picture the main guy, Herzl, looking like he just walked out of a paint-stained art studio, passionately gesturing about the necessity of a Jewish state. And there's your friend, scribbling notes in a lively debate over whose falafel recipe is the best, completely missing the point of statehood. But what about the economy? Your friend exclaims, with a half-eaten bagel dangling from one hand. The Zionist thread weaves through discussions about identity and loss. It's almost as if everyone has a mismatched sock drawer of emotions ready to burst open. The yearning for a homeland transforms into an aspiration that spreads faster than the latest fashion trends in Paris,
as even the most skeptical among them begin to feel the pull. Now, among these thinkers and dreamers emerges the British Empire, a bit like that friend who always shows up with snacks for the party, but somehow always wants to stay longer than anticipated. In 1917, like an unexpected guest dropping a bombshell, Britain issues the Balfour Declaration. It's like the universe waved a magic wand. Voila! One homeland for the Jews at your service. And you can hear the murmurs back at the cafe. Was that our order or a suggestion? Ah, but what is a homeland without a little drama? Picture the scene. Ships overflowing with hopeful faces, sailing towards the shores of Palestine, a land caught between aspirations and anxieties. Waves crash against the vessel as if nature itself shares a collective sigh, questioning the unfolding drama. Will this really work? You mutter to yourself while munching on your snack. Probably kinder if you had packed some crispy olives. Upon arrival, the tensions bubble. Imagine a scene where Jews and Arabs greet one another not with the warmth of long-lost friends, but with wary glances over the tables of burgeoning negotiations. And just when you think the waters are calming, the currents of power shift, like your mysterious neighbor who suddenly takes the most dramatic role in your community play. We skip through the events to 1918. The region feels like a thrilling roller coaster ride, creaking with excitement, gnashing with tension. With a wink and a nudge, British forces strengthen their grip, transforming the dream of a homeland into a whirlwind adventure fit for a blockbuster movie. Participation slips into the minds of the Jewish community, pushing forward the aspirations with the direct enthusiasm of your cousin who just discovered the wonders of crowdfunding for a new startup. But every thrilling ride has its moonlit moments of contemplation. You gaze upon the land that has become a canvas of contradictory emotions, filled with profound significance and uncertain futures. Underneath the stars, sprinkled like confetti, thoughts swirl about dreams and divisions, hopes and hesitations. You ponder, will the years that follow be a chapter of unity or division? Will this homeland, longed for by so many, enrich lives or deepen divides? Each new arrival, each declaration, each gesture flows into the fabric of a new history, one as complex as trying to assemble IKEA furniture without directions. As our chapter gently closes, feel free to drift into the night with thoughts of those seekers and dreamers whispering in the embrace of destiny. Each breath brings closeness to their stories, their hearts, and their aspirations for belonging. A reminder that within the vast expanse of history, the quest for a homeland, like deep-rooted laughter, connects us all in ways we perhaps always dreamed of, but never fully acknowledged. Close your eyes, dear listeners, and slip into a world where the echoes of ancient voices resonate in unity, a canvas alive with dreams waiting to be unveiled under the watchful eyes of time. Sweet dreams as you become part of this richly woven tapestry of past, present, and hope. Chapter 25. The reverberating echoes of a shattered promise. Salam alaikum, dear slumber seekers. Tonight we find ourselves gathered to unravel a tale steeped in history, more tangled than your earbuds after a long day. Picture it, the 10th century BCE, a time when hairdos were as grand as the palaces and humor as dry as the desert sands. Can you imagine? People plotting their next schemes over cups of date juice instead of lattes. Quite the sip, if you ask me. Before we slip into our historical slumber, let's get comfortable together. I invite you to dim the lights, maybe turn on a whispering fan that could rival a gentle desert breeze, and cozy up as if you're wrapping yourself in a plush blanket of history. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever had one of those days where everything seems to go sideways? Like you accidentally spilled your morning coffee all over your plans? Or perhaps you're that one friend at the party who keeps losing track of the actual conversation because every funny anecdote just slides in at the wrong moment. Lovely little interruptions, aren't they? But what if, during those moments, you were faced with the colossal task of uniting a kingdom or divine intervention, rather than merely finding your keys again? Imagine waking up to find yourself not just part of a lively conversation, but embroiled in plans to reclaim a legacy that's been as elusive as socks after laundry. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the 10th century BCE, a time when Bani Israel, our beloved children of Israel, wandered through fiqh like a confused traveler in a bazaar, all seeking a direction, but getting distracted by the wonders surrounding them. Let's talk about the shifting tides of history, that clumsy, unwieldy giant that stumbles over its own feet. Bani Israel, after having experienced their glorious reign, encountered turmoil as an impending storm loomed on the horizon. Imagine the ambience of bustling markets where merchants conduct their trades, only to discover that the whispers around bear news of three ominous signs, like a late-night movie trailer that makes you sit up, popcorn forgotten. First up, the humiliation of many Muslim faces, a distressing phase that felt like realizing you've arrived at the party wearing yesterday's news instead of the latest fashion. Now, picture this as a widespread phenomenon. Servants of Allah finding themselves in moments where dignity slips like grains of sand through their fingers. Would you remain calm as a cucumber, or want to give the world 2 cents about your grievances? As the proud Imam reminds us, patience is a virtue, though I'd definitely argue that sometimes a good old-fashioned rant among friends can really help. Next comes the daunting plan to not just enter Al-Aqsa, but demolish it with every tool available. That's right, a delicate masterpiece threatened by the clumsiness of ambition. It feels akin to your clumsiest friend trying to bake a cake but replacing flour with chalk. Now that's one way to ruin a party. The desire to rebuild a temple on such a sacred site unearthed conflict deeper than the marbles in your child's toy box. Truly, it sent shockwaves through the community. And let's not forget the demolition of buildings that had been raised with dreams and hopes, crumbling under the weight of mischief. If these structures had feelings, they'd be sobbing into their foundations. It's as if someone took a wrecking ball to the community, leaving behind stories better told around a campfire than etched in stone. It's easy to dismiss these calamities with laughter, but the reality bears weight far heavier than a woolen blanket on a hot summer's day. As these shadows danced in the background, several questions lingered. Where did the sense of honor vanish? When did the quest for power turn into a circus of pitiful displays? Could those involved not see that every swing of their destructive plans risked turning destiny itself into a woeful tragicomedy? As we slip into this tapestry of tension, consider, dear dreamers, the swirl of despair and hope that accompanied Bani Israel's journey. Think about those characters, the father who'd barter his last fig for dignity, or the young daughter who spent her day weaving dreams under the setting sun, oblivious to the chaos encroaching upon her tender bedtime stories. In this era, each choice rang out like the strings of a lute, turning emotions into melodies of both yearning and rebellion. You could almost hear the cacophony as the people, torn between survival and significance, strove to reclaim their voice against a backdrop of power plays and fickle loyalties. So, as we lay ourselves to rest, imagine drifting off to sleep with these thoughts swirling in your mind, a yearning to see how the strands of this narrative intertwine, to wonder how these echoes of the past shape our understanding of the future. Every misstep, every mishap bears a lesson, a reminder that even in the grandest of histories, humor and humanity remain woven tightly together, like a well-worn tapestry passed down through generations, yet rich in stories yet to be unveiled. May you find comfort in these whispers of time, my dear friends. Slip into dreams where walls don't crumble and laughter lingers like a song, promising a new dawn with every rising sun. Sweet dreams await as the echoes of history sing you into the night. As our journey through ancient promises and unfolding destinies gently comes to rest, it's worth pausing to remember what life demanded of those who lived these stories. Days were long, uncertain, and often heavy with responsibility. Survival required patience, faith, and resilience, not just against enemies or hardship, but against doubt, fatigue, and human weakness. And sometimes, woven into all that seriousness, were moments of quiet irony and humble humor. People stumbling forward, imperfect, yet still part of something far greater than themselves. The people of those ancient times carried enormous weight on their shoulders. Power was never simple. Faith was never easy. Every rise came with trials, every promise with accountability. And yet, generation after generation endured, planting crops, raising children, rebuilding after loss, and holding on to hope even when clarity felt distant. Their resilience wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady, lived one ordinary day at a time. Tonight, as you rest in the comfort of a safe bed, soft light, and gentle silence, allow yourself a moment of gratitude. We live in an age of warmth at the turn of a dial, food within reach, and rest without fear of the night. These comforts were once unimaginable luxuries. Remembering the past helps us appreciate the quiet blessings of the present. Now, let your breathing slow. Let the weight of history drift away like distant echoes. The lessons have been spoken. The journey can rest. May your thoughts settle peacefully. May your heart feel light. And may sleep come gently, like a soft closing of ancient pages under a calm and watchful sky. Good night.